What's up, JFW family? Welcome back to the Channel 23 podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to reach out and touch the fleet, to engage and inform everyone with all things JFW. Welcome back, Brother Dave, Super Dave, Jim, and Rich Trimble.
Morning, everybody.
How's it going, everybody?
Morning.
Appreciate you coming on today, Rich.
My pleasure.
Oh, he does talk.
Is this not, I know I said it last week, but like snow sucks. Is this like the fourth or fifth Wednesday?
Dang.
It snowed while we were doing the...
You know
I
what's
feel
so
like
funny?
it's the 10th.
Yeah, I do too, Dave.
JR said to me, wow, Jam, it seems like it snows every podcast. And I'm like, I thought about that. Then I'm going to the bathroom downstairs, and Ricky DeLeon, he's like, seems like it always snows on podcast day. I'm like,
telling you.
huh.
We need to move podcast days to Fridays then,
Right.
if that's the case. I'd rather work at least 4 days of work a week than,
Yeah.
2 or 3.
Yeah, the middle of the week thing sucks.
Yeah, it's just wrecking stuff.
Yeah,
I don't want to get too far until we pledge our allegiance.
absolutely.
Oh, all right.
We are patriots.
Yep.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Boom.
Right on.
As a reminder, the opinion you hear today is not the opinion of JFW or Garney Construction. It is the opinion of the 5 men in this room. I don't know why when you first mentioned we needed to do that, I'm like, but I love doing it.
It feels good. Like there's a bit of relief in it. Like,
Yeah, it's
hey,
like, hey, we could do what we want up here.
Yeah.
I
Right.
feel better already.
yes, thank you, Janet White.
Yeah. We told you it wasn't our opinion.
Yep.
Well,
It's Jana White's opinion.
yeah.
Janet suggest to put that in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 You have to.
Right. She's the dam builder. Error on the side of caution.
Because like we talked, it'll stop us from being sued.
Well, I don't know about
Right?
that.
We made the disclaimer.
Nothing will ever stop us from being sued. I might sue myself after this. So, episode 68, 297 downloads, so just shy of 300. We're at 25,550 total downloads. Our followers stayed steady at 162, but pretty cool. We picked up Oman, which is a country near Yemen.
What country?
Oman?
I think
Oman?
it's Oman.
Oman?
It's spelled O-M-E-N, but
Oh.
whatever.
I said that when I had to go to the
Potato,
bathroom.
I
potato.
was thinking it was
Can that be my
O-M-A-N.
dad joke?
Yep.
I said
Man,
that when I
I
had
brush
to.
up on my Middle East geography.
And we also picked up on, we picked Chili up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chili
Huh?
dog.
Yeah. Aladdin. Yep. Picked him up, put him back in his truck. So I tried to do a little Google search, like, what does it mean when you have a strange company listen to your podcast one time? And nothing really came up. So,
Because how do you stumble across it? I mean, you just like being in a foreign country, maybe you don't speak English or you do, and it's like Channel 23
it's the
sticks
catchy
out.
name.
Yeah.
The catchy name. I
Yeah,
wanna
it's
listen.
just-
What's on that channel?
Yeah, right?
You know?
What do they talk
For
about?
people working overseas looking for a slice of home. And then
Yeah.
they say, oh, Channel 23. That's from America. Let me
Or a
check it
CB
out.
or a CB knows something about trucks?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So if
go,
you're
Dave.
from Oman or Chile and you want to tell us how you stumbled across a podcast, just email Dave@jfwtrucking.com.
Nice. I'll take it. Can't wait to hear from you.
Or Rich, what's your email?
What's email?
We'll just text message him. It's fine. So it's time for the dad joke challenge. Rich, we always make the newcomer go first.
Oh, wow.
Did you forget?
Dad joke?
Yeah.
I did forget, but I will tell you that I was downtown Loveland last weekend.
You didn't forget.
And as Dave knows, I like to hunt, so I was wearing my camouflage jacket, and I set it down. This guy in a wheelchair takes it, and I went down the street chasing him, and I said, "You can hide, but you can't run."
Oh, man. Wow. Just as a reminder, anything you hear on this podcast is Rich Trimble's opinion. That's great.
Man.
All right, let's go around the table, left to right, either way.
What? I got to get real with you guys.
Left or right?
I'm going because I want to jump in here because
Diagonal.
I'm upset about it. Really. I mean, I'm trying to get real with you guys that, Sunday was a sad day, but the day before was Saturday.
Wow. Where's your coasters at? Bring the coasters back.
He's got a whole can of it's dad jokes in a can that somebody gave him.
Oh, nice.
Did that come from the can?
No, it didn't.
That's funny.
Just busting them.
Well, I know Sam's a senior in high school, obviously, and they're still. I mean, it seems like every couple months they go through these lockdown drills, and we never had those in school, right? I mean, thank God the amount of school shootings,
never
35
once did
years
we have
ago,
a
right?
lockdown.
I mean, that was probably the safest place you could be, but yeah, they go through these lockdown drills constantly. And yesterday they had a lockdown drill, and I mean, did you guys hear about the kidnapping?
Yeah, didn't they wake them up?
Exactly. I told you if he knows him, he'll spit it out. Yeah.
Sorry. The ruiner of all good things.
All right, let's see if you can catch this one. So, considering the group of men in this room, everybody's in the dirt business. How much dirt is there in a hole that measures 2 feet by 3 feet by 4 feet?
None.
Damn it, champ. It's a hole.
You better dig a hole and bury that dirt. Well, Rich, I usually tell gun puns and hunting jokes, but I think I've told them all. So I want to bring it back to God today. Do you guys know what kind of car Jesus drives?
This should be so self-explanatory, I'm
Right?
thinking.
Hopefully not a Tesla.
Nope. How about a Chrysler? I love that one. New employees. We forgot to mention TJ started working in the shop, not this week, but the week before. What'd you say his real name was, Soup? Tristan? Welcome,
Yeah.
Tristan. And then we had a couple new drivers start. We got Timothy Garcia and Mike Aguilar was supposed to start today.
Yep.
Right.
His son is sick, and he's going to start on Monday, which actually works good because
Yeah.
we have 3 people all in orientation together on Monday.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Well, I hope he does. Otherwise, I'm take him out of the podcast next week. So.
Just as you announced that and stuff, have we ever thought about like TJ that just started in the shop, having him go through that orientation? Because it's a lot of driving stuff, but it's a lot of basic stuff too.
I think we've talked about having other departments go through it and then said
We
no.
just never
Yeah,
did
we
it.
could
It's
readjust
so
it.
yeah, we need to revamp one for other positions
I
because
feel-
it's so driver based.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but when they go over the the PTO and the 401k and
yeah.
insurance and stuff like that, there's a lot.
We should ask JR because I feel maybe he did do one like that and
Yeah.
it took like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that'd be
it's
good.
Yeah, he
Much
did,
shorter.
Jim.
Was it for Angie or?
Gosh, I don't remember, but it was really short and 2 hours tops.
Welcome to driver support.
Yeah,
But you know one
Right.
thing though too, a lot of people, let's just say Angie or Amber or Joanne or an office person or maybe a truck wash person, they don't know what JFW does. They don't know anything about
Right.
our business. So it would probably help a lot.
It would, yeah.
yeah. Maybe it's just good information.
Yep.
But otherwise, welcome everybody. Yeah.
Thanks for joining the team.
Yep.
Yep. Moving on to celebrations, anniversaries. Kurt Spencer, he hits 2 years today.
Nice. Congrats, Kurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glad to have you back too, Kurt.
Yep. And then Leo Montez, or as Oswaldo likes to say, Leo, he will hit 3 years on Friday.
Does.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, Leo.
It was so funny. I was walking up behind Leo the other day, and I was like, Leo. And he thought I was a Spanish guy, and he just started speaking Spanish. As he turned around, and he's like, oh. It's pretty funny.
Well, Leo is Italian too.
Oh, Leonel.
That's my grandson's name.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I have a
Like
nephew.
as in Leonardo?
Leonardo,
There you
yes.
go.
Yeah.
I have a nephew named Leo. So, birthdays. Let's see. Potter, he just had a birthday on the 18th. Happy birthday, Potter.
Happy birthday, Potter.
Mario Vasquez in the Wash Bay. He had a birthday on the 20th. Happy birthday, Mario.
Happy birthday.
And then these three guys all share a birthday, I think, this Friday, the 24th. Gilly Rodriguez, Don Keller, and Richard Brown.
Oh, nice.
They don't look anything alike.
Yeah.
guys-
Happy birthday, you guys.
Triplets. You guys should all go do something together.
Yeah, happy birthday, everyone.
And then family birthday celebrations. We have Samantha Trahan, which is Chris Beam's significant other. Her birthday was yesterday, so happy birthday, Samantha.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday,
happy birthday.
Samantha.
Yep. Moving on to shout-outs. Before we do shout-outs, I want to give Tanny a public apology. The other day, I had some business to discuss with Tanny. Our discussion did not start off very well, and I took a boss posture with Tanny instead of a leadership posture, and we both ended up apologizing, and Tanny ended up taking the high road in regards to the situation. But sometimes we just forget who we are. So I'm sorry, Tanny.
Easy to do in the heat of moment, right?
Oh yeah. Definitely. I use my position at JFW to kind of guide the conversation, and as soon as it was over, I just didn't feel good about it. It was just like, that doesn't feel good at all. So yeah. We made up, we hugged, and it's all good.
Good.
Yep. Let's see. Rosario wants to give a shout out we want to give a shout out to Rosario.
Yeah.
He found his trailer dirty with grain, but understood he needed to clean it out and do the right thing, even though he was stuck with it. So basically, somebody didn't do the right thing, left him a mess in his truck instead of making it, it was like that when I got it, not my problem.
Right.
He went ahead and did the right thing, but we don't expect anything less from anybody. But Rosario, of course he did that. He's Mr. Perfecto.
Right.
Yeah.
What's amazing to me about that is he found it.
Right.
You know what I mean? He didn't just go, when I parked, before I took my days off, and I don't know if that, transpired between Friday night and Monday morning or what the time frame was on that, but he knows when he left, his trailer was empty and knowing him clean. And he must have figured out that somebody drove his truck.
Yep.
So
That's what I think, Dave.
he was savvy enough to realize, hey, I need to look in the trailer and
Yeah.
make sure it's clean. And did, and sure enough, I don't want to say found a mess, but found he needed to clean it out because it would have contaminated another load. So,
Yeah.
I wonder if
what
it
a
was full of fuel or not.
that I couldn't tell you. So,
Because he probably would have left it full, and
Yeah.
perhaps it wasn't.
yeah, and the funny thing was what he had to clean out, and it's easy for me to say it wasn't much. I didn't do it. He had to clean it out. But the person that should have cleaned it out,
Right.
it wasn't much.
It wasn't tons of material.
Yeah,
It
it's
was-
not like there was 2,000 pounds frozen in the nose and we were in subpolar temperatures like today and tomorrow and
Right.
things like that. It was like, hey, somebody clearly didn't hop up there and just sweep that out.
Was
real
that
quick.
the excuse with the shovel? I used a shovel to do it instead of a broom.
I don't know the details of it, Jam. I just what an amazing driver
Yeah.
to have him, just have the whereabouts
Yep.
about that. So
So
that's
how,
what's cool.
how did we find out about that? Did Rosario say something? I doubt it.
Somehow a photo came across my email,
Got it.
and I was like,
Maybe we asked him for a photo.
Yeah.
Because I just don't see. I see Rosario doing that silently
Yes.
and not even telling anybody.
right,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
exactly,
So,
Jim. Yeah,
To me, we knew about it. We asked him to send a picture.
that could be.
yeah. That's probably what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, it was really clear the person that didn't clean it out didn't try very hard, I believe, because there's that little lip right where the ram comes down and it's angled right there at the doghouse. And there's that little 2-inch strip,
Yeah.
that's only
Collects
18
everything.
or 20 inches wide, right? And all the material sits on it. So that's like you always make a point to clean that. You just hit it with your square shovel and it just pulls right off. And that was full.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, somebody didn't make a very good attempt at cleaning this and kind of stuck Rosario with it.
Man.
So anyway,
Huh.
Do you remember, Dave, where you learned the lesson of checking the bed if somebody hadn't driven the truck? Do you remember that one? Have we talked about that?
about the guy that delivered the load.
About the tandem that sat out here and then you grabbed it and went and made a delivery and dumped it out?
Oh, right. No, I think I
Tell
learned.
us, Jim.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good story.
I'd
Hold
love
on,
to say
hold
I
on.
learned before that, but clearly I
Back
didn't.
the bus back up again.
Yeah.
Well, we had a tandem out front. It would the doors went a different way into the shop. I say out front, but it sat there, and we stole parts off it for a while. I mean, the springs were missing, all sorts of stuff. I don't know what the circumstance was with it, but
it was during a tough financial time it was right after we had our largest customer file bankruptcy on us.
I don't know. I think that was before that, Dave. But either way, it doesn't matter. But anyway, we finally got it all back together, and had it running and everything. And but it sat out there, I don't know, 6 months probably.
At least, yeah.
And so we had an order come in, a tandem order, and it was just a home delivery. I don't know, squeegee, pea gravel, whatever it might have been, sand. And Dave's like, "Oh, I'll grab it. I'll go do it." And we're like, "Oh, okay," And so Dave grabs a load, whatever, and 2-3 tons, something like that. Dave, it wasn't very much.
It wasn't a full load, I'll guarantee you.
Right?
That.
So he gets to the homeowner's house and stuff, and I know he was there, but I've heard the story enough, and raises the bed up and dumps out whatever, the 2 tons, 3 tons, whatever it was. Well, the whole time the truck sat there, everybody just walked by and threw trash in it.
Oh, wow.
Beer bottles,
beer cans, pop
cans, paper towel.
Yeah, I would tell you the majority of the paper blew out on my way to the pit, and I didn't even know it.
Right? Yeah. So the guy got like a ton of material and a ton of trash.
he got rock and recyclables. He just didn't know that.
That's awesome.
So that was
a little embarrassing.
One of those.
Oh man.
Yeah. One of those lessons you go, I should just look in the trailer, or I should look in the bed.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Shout out to Jacob Riley on the night crew for covering for John while he was off. We heard he did a great job, so thank you, Jake. I actually heard that from a few different sources, and that's a pretty big compliment for Jake.
That is,
right?
Yeah. He stepped up.
I wanted to be sure that was in there, Jam, and I thanks
stuff.
for throwing it in. And I just heard he did a great job, and he appreciated the opportunity to do John's job while John was gone.
Yeah.
And then when he got back, I just overheard the conversations. I wasn't in on them. I just overheard it because they were next door. And Jake was like, I had no idea how hard that job was. You know what I mean? Because you have to pick that project, assign it to whatever mechanic, and figure out all the A's, B's, and C's about that.
Sign of maturity for Jake, and he's a reserve Marine, and so good to see he's taking a leadership role.
Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to Tony Martinez. He's been slip seating for a while and leaving pretty much every truck that he gets in. He's leaving them better than he got them. My understanding, he's got Armor All and he's detailing trucks.
He Armor All Veronica's floor mats.
Wow.
Yeah, when she got on the radio yesterday and thanked whoever drove her
I
truck.
was in her truck fixing her CB yesterday.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Look at this, Super Dave," and I'm like, "What?" Her truck's always clean, and she goes, "This is how my truck was left while I was off." And
Isn't that awesome?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that over and over with Tony, and Tony's just to me, is my personal opinion, got that little tough vibrato about him, and pretty quiet and all that kind of stuff, and then superhero. Look at him cleaning everybody's trucks up,
right?
Because it sucks. His truck's broke down,
right?
Yeah.
And he's stuck in all of these different trucks, and
he keeps his truck like that all day long.
Exactly.
And once you have it at that level, it's easy to keep it at that level. But when you're going from truck to truck to truck, and you have to get each one you drive to that level,
a lot of time.
Gets a little discouraging. So
yeah, it's
good job.
It's
Tony.
frustrating. Yeah, thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
I love this next shout out. It's from Edward Cabral. Good afternoon, Jam. I would like to give a shout out for this week's podcast to the following: Casey and Kendrick for helping me shovel and making sure I was axle legal when I came to yard 23 at the end of the day to check my axles. And to the rest of the group of people that were there, Ryan, Potter, and a couple others were there visually and verbally being supportive while the three of us were up there shoveling. And Chili Dog, too, for coming with his shovel all the way from where he was parked over to the scale to shovel as well. Unfortunately, there can just be so many people in the trailer at once to shovel that. Chili Dog just had to watch, LOL. So basically, Chili Dog was supervising. To me, it sounds like Ryan and Potter and a couple other people were heckling.
Right?
I could just see the whole thing. I have this vision.
Yeah.
That's some good shit.
Yeah, that's
sure
a four-square cartoon little meme, right? You can just visualize it.
Yeah, Ryan step up on the step of the truck. Oh, you guys are still overweight.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's true teamwork there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brother Dave wants to give a shout out to Pedro Perico Sotelo for looking out the back window.
Yeah, Pedro, I want to give you a shout out, man. you were at the yard here, had a tire problem, and when you were leaving, I was coming back from getting some things, and I glanced, and when you were driving out, I noticed you have a curtain in your back window, and obviously for me, those are aha moments, and what I mean by that is, how do you look out the back window if you have a curtain, right? That just, to me, that's a recipe for failure. And I'm one of those guys, I like the tinted windows, I like the curtains, you know what I mean? I like the privacy in the cab, because otherwise you're in a fishbowl all day long, right? And I was just like, hey, we need to verify he's looking out the back window when he dumps. So I asked one of the guys to grab some footage and just verify that, and I was so thrilled, Pedro. Great job, man. I got sent a video. You actually, you go out, you open your tailgate, you come back, you open the door, you sit down in the seat, and you are almost virtually sideways, man, and you grab that curtain, you slide the curtain so far back against the side of the window you couldn't even see the curtain anymore, and you are literally looking straight out the back window watching that trailer go up. And I was just so impressed by that, because so many times, unfortunately, I've learned over the years, usually if someone has a curtain in their back window, number one, it doesn't move or slide, right? It's stuck in position, and they go, yeah, it's like, well, I can't move the curtain, it's stuck there. It's like, well, that's a recipe for disaster, so good job, Pedro, man. Way to do it right. Thank you.
My mind's just wandering today. I just picture him like with a remote.
I mean, Jan, that
like the new shades at your house where it folds up.
It was like so impressive. I mean, those curtains, they're curtains, right? I mean, I've seen so many versions of curtains in the back windows before over the years, and they only slide halfway, or
they don't slide at all.
Yeah, or they're two piece, and you have to like put a hand and hold one out of the way, and
the driver cracks it 1 inch.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this is like it was completely out of the way. I mean, it was 100% clear. It was
awesome.
Yeah, textbook.
Because a lot of times the seats grab the curtains.
Yeah.
The back seats are against them, and you can't move the curtain. Yeah.
Got that driver's seat all the way against the back of the cab.
Yep.
Nice job, Pedro.
Yeah, way to go, Pedro. Thank you.
Powder wanted to give a shout out to the entire snow crew for last week's storm. They all worked together as a team very well. We added the shovelers and changed a few things with equipment, and it went smooth. We got some great positive feedback from UP. It's a direct reflection of the outstanding men and women we have here at JFW. We appreciate you all.
Nice. Very cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, that was the same shout out I had. I know it's kind of a select group, you guys, but Potter sends out that text, and I just enjoy everybody texting back. They might put a little meme in there, or 10-4, or something in Spanish and different. It's just enjoyable to see that the response, and it's teamwork. It's truly teamwork. It's good to see that.
Have you been enjoying the text messages with Blueberry?
Yeah, the Blueberry. Yeah.
What is a blueberry?
Yeah, and I kind of like Sergio Portillo's yesterday for the snow crew. Has the what's his name?
Al Pacino.
Yeah, Al Pacino. But and the Coke and the whole movie and the whole thing. But it's a snowman of Coke. I was like, oh, that's funny. That's a good one.
Dwayne, this. Oh, somebody going to say something? Was that you, Rich?
Scarface, I was going to say.
Scarface,
yeah.
There you go. Yep.
My little friend.
Say hello to my little friend. Dwayne the Sandman San wants to give a shout out. Said, good evening, Jam. I have a mountain of shout outs. First, I thought my text went through a few weeks ago, but it failed. A few weeks ago, Chili Dog, a.k.a. Aladdin, helped me hook up a trailer I was having a bunch of trouble with. Kendrick helped with several trailers hooking and unhooking. I wanted to thank all the drivers that checked on me when I was broke down. Every single truck that passed checked on me. Big John and Gilbert stopped to lend a hand. I was able to get my truck running and hauled ass to dump before another issue occurred. Pedro, again, 0097, stopped and picked up my triangles without anyone asking. Rescue Chris came out and made sure I got to the yard. Thank you all. So, nice. Thanks,
That's
John.
very cool.
Outstanding story there.
Right?
Yeah, and I don't want to. I mean, I've heard the stories and everything else, and we're congratulating all the people and stuff like that. But you're standing out because you're doing your job. That's
Right.
it's what should be done. It's the right thing. Again,
I think stopping and helping may not be it's our culture. It's what we want people to do, but that's above and beyond to me.
It's still the right thing, though, Jim.
Absolutely, it's putting the shopping cart away.
Exactly. I was just going to say that.
You know about the shopping carts, Rich?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you put him back?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever watched Cart Narcs?
No.
Oh, we'll have to send you that. It's this goofy guy, and he like stands in parking lots, and when somebody doesn't put their cart away, he comes over with like these like reflectors, and he's like doo 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 doo, and he's got like these magnets that say lazy bones, and he throws them on people's cars. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's a little annoying, but it's funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's lucked out. He hasn't.
Got killed.
Yeah, because it's funny, but it's not.
He's driving a point home being funny,
Yeah.
Man, to have the time to do that.
right?
What are you going to do today? I'm gonna go make sure people put shopping carts
Yeah,
away.
but there's a different way for income. Get enough followers.
Yeah, that's true.
He makes a living.
That's true. Good
Yeah.
point, Jim. All right, let's get into the discussion part of things. First item on the list. Oh, wait, we got more shout-outs.
Yeah, no more shout outs, but I don't know where to slip this in, Jam. I was going to send it to you in the discussion. So I guess we're going to have to start a little place in case we make a mistake on the podcast before, and we've done that, right? We've all said, I messed up.
Corrections or
Corrections. So
Every week.
every week, right? So
Yeah.
so I looked up. So recant, annul, renege, or disavow is all my words of last week's statement. So I had a reporter in the field. Okay,
This is gonna be good.
and this is hot off the texts, right?
was it Holly?
No, it was. Well, now it's going to be funny. It was Rick Gray. So yeah, my reporter in the field. We made a statement last week that there was a possibility that we drove through the big ice pond up there at the pit, right? And because there was the wide base tires out and everything, and Rick, after he listened to the podcast, like I said, the man in the field, it was a Quikrete truck, and I do know Quikrete has the wide based wheels like we do. They also have those coffin trailers, right?
Yep.
One of the few companies, and he was the one in the middle of the ice pond, and the loader did make him go out in his shoes in the puddle and chain his own truck out
Because he did get stuck.
because he did get stuck. Rick said he was there and seen it. So none of our drivers. Great job, everybody.
Yeah, congrats,
And,
everyone.
Yeah, congrats. Way to go. Not driving through the ice, and I'm sure Rick had probably some choice words as he watched the Quikrete driver.
I'm
I'm
surprised
sure.
there wasn't pictures.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, thanks, Rick. I appreciate it. And we're recanting on that story.
Awesome.
Well, I think we did say it's pretty good odds.
Yeah, we didn't.
It could be us.
Yep.
So, but yeah, no, thanks for the facts, Rick. That's
Yep.
what we need are facts here. We
Man in
can't-
the field, right
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We can't assume things happened.
Yep. Yeah, so maybe we have to slide that in before discussions or something, Jim.
Yeah, I would love to because we make mistakes all the time, but
Yep.
we have a disclaimer.
Yeah. Just our opinion last week.
Yeah. Right.
Whether it's right or wrong, that's what we're putting out there. Does anybody else have any shout outs before we do move on to the discussion? Rich, you want to give anybody a shout out?
No, not for last week.
Rich doesn't like anybody.
He must have had a bad week, huh?
Oh, man. So let's talk about camming over and what we mean by camming over in regards to tailgate latches and your tailgates and hauling. It seems to be the issue hauling cores because it's so wet and icy. What happens is we start getting a buildup of ice and material on the tailgate around the tailgate seal, but also on the tailgate on the bottom lip where it meets that tailgate seal. And then you go to close your tailgate latches and you look at them and they look like they're closed. You gotta look underneath the trailer to make sure those bars are even. If the bars aren't even, you are not cammed over and that tailgate can pop open at any time. Not only can it pop open, it does pop open.
Right.
And then we got Coors Green to clean up.
Yeah.
And I think we had 3 tailgates pop open last week.
I didn't know we had 3. I definitely knew of the one, Jam.
We
I
had
did.
2 right here in the yard.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
No, you're spot on. Yeah, I totally forgot. Well, the one was
Pulled the
was
button,
pulled.
right?
It wasn't.
Oh,
A cam,
yeah.
It wasn't a cam issue. It was just a mistake. Pulled a button.
Either way.
And yeah, the cam over, and I just
It-
it is so difficult to explain. You almost have to show everyone a picture, and that when you say the two bars aligned, they actually do need to be. It's a pivot point of two points, and they do need to be just a little past center. I mean, and I'm talking a quarter of an inch past center from one end to the other, and therein point lies the term cammed over.
It's locked.
Exactly. Yeah. That latch that you stand and see that comes over the tailgate at the back where the tail lights are, it always looks closed, right? It's always over the tailgate.
Yep.
But what you're talking about, and you know what's funny is when we have trouble with it, it's snow out, it's icy conditions, freezing conditions, and the last thing you want to do is stick your head under that fender and look, because guess what? It's going to drip snow and ice and shit on you.
That's the first thing I would do.
Well, if you've ever cleaned up a Coors spill, which you have cleaned up many, right? So, yeah.
What's funny, and I always say I'm not going to mention names, and then I mention a name, but I'm not going to mention any names. But the other day when we had the gate pop open in the yard, we made sure to talk to all the people that were hauling cores that day and say, hey, do you know how to make sure you're cammed over?
Yeah.
And all the drivers said yes, or pretty close to yes. The driver that just had his gate popped open at cores knows what it looks like to be cammed over. I was like, what happened? He's like, oh, I know. I was like, you know what it looks like, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, seen in check, so you got to look. You got to look. Shoveling grain in the cold, it sucks. It's just,
Hey, I'm going to tell you, Jam, shoveling grain in the warm sucks.
And not everybody, the funny thing about the shoveling grain is it's a little bit of a workout. And if you're not in shape, you're going to be hurting.
Just call Mr. Ed. He'll tell you.
Yeah. We almost killed him that day. He was shoveling, though. He just knew he shouldn't have been shoveling.
Yeah.
It's
he
crazy.
Until he was almost dead. He sat down on the curb, and we said, Ed, just stay there.
Yeah. Turned to color green. And
well, he was a speed shoveler. He wouldn't shovel for 5 minutes, and then he'd jump in there like an Olympian and be like, as many shovels as fast as he could. Like we're all just at a pace going,
right.
Steady Eddie.
One foot in front of the other.
Right, and he would be like 10 shovels to our 3 or whatnot. And then he'd be like, I'm dying.
And then he'd sit down and have a cigarette.
Yeah. Can't breathe. Let me get some fresh air. That's crazy. Have we talked about tailgate latches being cammed over in the last few weeks?
You know what I'd like to see? I was talking to JR, and he's hot on the track of making videos.
He made a video on this.
On that? Did he?
Yeah, I think.
Well, that's great, because I was going to suggest that.
Right.
Well, I think you were sick, Dave. Seriously, Thursday or Friday. I think that's when it went out, was like Wednesday, and then he sent something out on Thursday.
You're just not engaged.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I'll tell you what, I was not engaged with anything.
But that's what we need is the tailgates engaged, cammed over.
Right.
Well, I mean, I'll add this right to it. We talk about that so much, and we talk about being engaged, and we talk about, do you understand what that term means? Do you understand what you're looking at? Because you can look at something, and if you don't understand what you're looking at, you think it's fine, right? But we just had an issue with the truck leaving, Monday morning this week, and there were 2 people in the cab, and they were driving out of the yard with their tailgate open, and the airbags aired down.
Right.
Leaving the yard. So for me, this is like the curtain incident, right? You have to just base your opinion off of all the other experiences you've had in your life. Yep. This tells me the driver never walked around the back of that truck and looked at his tail lights, never bumped his tires, obviously didn't realize the tailgate was open, obviously didn't realize the bags weren't inflated, and was leaving the yard. So again, this is based off experience, and it sucks because you're drawing to a conclusion. Whether you have all the facts or not, you're basing it off evidence you've had happen several other times in the past, and you're like, that person didn't do a pre-trip.
Right.
It's impossible they did.
Yeah, I remember telling you I was going to add this to the podcast. I did. I just put pre-trip inspections. So I'm like, I thought I put this in
I
there.
thought it was a good segue, Jam, because when you call a driver and go, hey, do you understand what it's supposed to look like to have that pivot point cammed over? Because it's just not easy to see. It's not easy to understand, and I mean, even though JR sent that out, if people aren't engaged and they didn't look at it, I mean, how do we continue to get that point across when we continue to have it happen, but we also have people leaving the yard that didn't even go back and walk around their truck?
The sad thing about, I don't know how many times that happened, but the day where you guys saw me catch the one truck, there was 2 drivers in that truck.
Right.
You know, 2 drivers. One is assigned to the truck, and the other one's a more experienced driver, and neither one of them caught that.
Right.
You know, I talked to the driver of the truck, and I asked him about it, and he says, "Oh, we checked it.
You couldn't have.
Couldn't have."
You couldn't have.
You know, that's a case of Murphy's Law, kind of. I mean, everybody's guilty. When you're in a hurry or you're assuming something and you overlook something, and maybe it's the dude jumping out of the airplane, Dave, right,
Yeah.
that died. But it will never fail when you don't walk around the back. Something's wrong back there.
Yeah.
It's Murphy's Law.
Do you guys have a checklist? Do you have to do a checklist every day, like on paper?
You're supposed to.
Yeah, we have paper.
But we pencil whip them, or we just don't do
Yeah,
them at all.
very much.
Just pencil.
Line straight down all the OK
It was good yesterday. It must be good today.
Yeah.
Well, we assume it was good yesterday.
Right?
Because we're assuming it's good today, too.
You know,
Hopefully it'll be
that's
good
when
tomorrow.
you should stop and think, like, oh, you know what, Murphy's Law. I better go check that because
Right.
if I don't, something's wrong.
Rich, is that
know.
something you guys contend with?
Absolutely.
Gun decking?
with the heavy equipment. Yep. It's real easy to jump in and pencil whip that form. And assume that just because everything was good yesterday that it's good today. Or like you guys are talking, if an operator is on a machine today and then tomorrow a different operator is on this machine, you kind of get stuck with what he left.
Right.
And yeah, it's real easy for these guys to pencil whip that form.
How do you combat that?
Training. We don't have, I don't have to deal with 100 drivers per se. I have 6 or 8
On a job
equipment
site?
operators on my job site.
Right.
So as the younger ones come in, or if we have a new hire, we have to work hard with them and train them and show them what they're supposed to be looking for and why, and train them why it's important to check it every day.
Right. Trying to get them bought into doing it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you have to do it. Okay, I got to do it. But having them bought into the reason behind it, and make that like something they can't skip in their heart.
Right.
Because that's what it is for me. Like, man, if I skip that and something's wrong with it, oh man, I didn't do my job. I'm probably not going to sleep very well tonight.
It's definitely a challenge to create that culture. They may have come from another company. They could be great operators.
Right.
And someone else checked everything for them every day and did their fueling and greasing. But we don't do it like that.
Right.
But we have to, if they want to work here, they have to change and they have to embrace our culture and the way we do things.
Nice.
We run into that with the drivers too, Rich. They come from let's just say a Shamrock Foods type of company. They're food delivery guys, and they don't touch the truck except for the key and the steering wheel.
Yep.
Yeah. So they come here, and I'm like, did you check your oil?
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you do that?
Rich, I'm curious, more often than not, we have a term here. Which do you find is the bigger problem? Is it a skill problem or is it a will problem?
Yeah, that's that's a great question, and we see both, but 9 times out of 10, it's the will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's something you find, Rich, like on a piece of equipment, not checking the oil, or they didn't grease it, or
so
something like that? Or?
Perfect example is we have this great kid. He's young. He's fantastic. I just love him. He actually lives up in Loveland. He went to school to be an equipment operator. He did a 6-month course in Missouri. He came from Missouri, and
Show me state.
yeah. So he was running an excavator, loading trucks and whatnot, and he thought he blew a hydraulic line. Oil was blowing everywhere. And he calls me on the phone and says, "Hey, I need a mechanic. The hydraulic line coming down the stick broke." And I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, that's weird. Pretty new machine, actually." So anyway, I get over there and I'm looking it over and I'm wiggling the hose, and I said, "Well, that fitting's loose right there. Did you check that by chance and see if it's loose, or is it the fitting itself? Maybe the hose is still good?" And no, I didn't check any of that. And I was like, "Well, let's have your loader come over and build this up so we can stand safely, check that fitting." Pretty soon he comes in my office and he goes, "Yeah, Rich, you were right. That hose was loose. I think we're good." And I was like, "Okay, make sure you check your hydraulic oil level." He didn't know where the hydraulic tank is,
Oh, wow.
where the oil level was.
Wow.
And of course, we spent about 2 hours the next day learning how to do a walk around on a 350 John Deere excavator.
Huh.
So that's just one example.
And that's a kid that went to school. You'd think they would have taught him that.
You would think, and I was actually shocked. And I've adopted this kid. His boss that he's been working with for a year recently lost his job. And it's not his fault
with
at
Garney,
all.
Rich, not to interrupt you,
Yeah.
lost his job with Garney.
Yeah, absolutely. He was on the support crew for the job that I'm on, and his job wasn't doing, or his boss, his support superintendent, wasn't doing his paperwork. And after 3 times of being checked on, they decided to terminate because the liability was just too high.
Wow.
So they got rid of him, and I adopted their crew, and
Sure.
working really hard because they have not been led in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys don't play around over there, huh?
No, we can't. It's too big of a hazard. We have to follow the rules. We just do. We have to follow the rules because people's lives are at stake.
There's kind of a line in the sand. If you do this, that's it. Huh?
That's right. Yep. Some things you might get 3 strikes, but if you're just willingly breaking the rules, you might lose your job on the same
Negligent.
day. Yeah.
Crazy. Well, speaking of negligence,
Can I bet? Sorry, Jen.
this
can I
is
just
your
bet-
podcast just as much as anyone else.
Just let me do my thing, huh?
Yeah, speak up.
Well, every time I jump in with a joke, you make fun of me. So I wanted to ask permission this time.
I mean, you could do
Is
what you want.
Is it okay? No,
Doesn't mean-
I can't do what I want because you always speak up.
Doesn't mean your jokes are funny.
The tailgate thing, I think there's a problem that we've created again the other way. So we had the automatic gates when the trailers come down, but you had to go, most of the time you should go back and look. And I think the guys got used to going back and looking, or you'd brush your gate off because you know the trailer's going to come down and it's going to automatically shut. Mm-hmm. I think we have a deal of you can walk back and you don't have to go all the way to the back. You know, I know you're supposed to brush the gate off, but you just punch the button. Right. Or you walk around it and you punch the button. The button works. It does shut the gate. You hear that. You hear the airbags air up. Then I don't think it's a step now to the back to make sure they're latched or they're cammed over, like we were saying. So I think that's we eliminated that automatic valve, but now we've created another problem of it. We've made it really easy or too far to go back.
Extra 8 feet.
Yeah.
That extra 8 feet's just too much.
Yeah, and it's just a quickness, going back and look. You got to look. You got to go and check the oil, right, Rich? I mean, it leaked. Where'd the oil go?
Right.
Right.
And you got to go check it. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of checking oil, when should you check your engine oil? Like you're getting ready to do your pre-trip inspection. When should you check that?
I mean, jam on a car. When I learned to drive, I was taught every time you put gas in, you checked your oil.
Okay.
But, we didn't have the vehicles we have today.
Right.
Where, we filled our oil and checked our gas with the vehicles we had back in the day, right?
Right.
Like if you were out of oil, you blew your engine up and you were walking.
Right.
Right? I mean, that was the option.
And they used to use oil.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, most vehicles today are really good on oil. So,
Yeah, they don't even burn it.
Right.
So-
Yeah. I mean, I just check periodically. I don't know that I have a time frame. I mean, I just checked mine this weekend. I just checked Janet's, and I just made Sam check his. Okay. And I don't know at what mileage that is. I don't have it's Friday, I need to check my oil.
On your pre-trip inspection.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I do
think
it
I know
daily,
where you're
Jim.
going with this, Jam. Like, is it
I wait
okay
for
to
the light
check
to
it while
come
your
on.
engine's hot, or you have to do it while it's cold? Is what you're asking.
What I'm saying, here's what I'm saying. I'll just quit beating around the bush. If I walk up to your truck and your truck is running and you haven't checked your oil yet, you aren't checking your oil.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? You want to check your oil before you start your truck, right? Otherwise, it looks like you're not popping your hood because you're not. So when I go up to you and I'm like, oh, you check your oil yet? Oh, no, I didn't do that yet. I was going to do that in a little bit, but your truck's already running. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit of BS. What's up, Rich?
So You guys probably don't know this about me, but back in the late 90s, 97, 98, I actually came in on Fridays and Saturdays and worked for these guys as a relief because things were so busy. And back then, it was okay to check our truck at night. We rolled it in, parked it, and did a walk around. We checked our oil. We fueled it. We thumped our tires. We checked our lights. We did all of that.
I forgot about that, Rich.
Yeah.
We're all drivers sitting here at the table.
Yeah. So
Or JFW.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we did our check at night. Is that still okay, or do we expect to do that in the morning before we leave?
Well, that's where I was going to go, Rich, with your comment, Jam, is when I was driving, I wanted to do everything at night. I didn't want to have to add oil in the morning. I just wanted to get going. And I know you were the same way, Dave. And I wanted to make sure that was okay if you did it that night and you really did it. But the other thing is we've also had where the mechanics, you're due for an oil change.
Right.
They change your oil or, I don't know, have to do any kind of maintenance, and the situation might change.
Right.
And that's where today, you know, I might make a mistake, Jim, because I know it was full, but I don't know if the mechanics worked on it.
Right. Well, in that case, if the driver answered me, you know, I check my oil every night. Not, I was going to do it in a little while when the truck's already running.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I like checking at night because if you find a problem, you got time to get it fixed before the next day's work.
So we promote post-trip, Rich, and here's the reason why. In the morning, we have one mechanic here. Well, we now have two, just because I feel like the post trips aren't being done the way they should be, and we just have multitude of trucks in the mornings that need repair. But yeah, we preach the post trip because we have 10 mechanics at night.
Yeah.
Right? If you find something, if you catch something, all you have to do is write it down and tell somebody. You leave and mysteriously it's fixed overnight.
Yeah.
Right? So we just promote that. And, you know, like Jim was saying, I like to check my oil at night, or like you mentioned, you know, you do the walk around, you bump all your tires, you're listening for that air leak, you know, in one of the tires. I mean, I have such a reputation around here, Rich. One of the trucks was in the bay out here. The mechanics were working on it, and it was bobtail. And as I walked up to it, I heard an air leak, but it didn't sound like a normal location to me. And I'm like, well, that's like a nail or something in the bottom of a tire. So I went to the other side because that's what it sounded like. And when I got to the other side, it sounded like it was on the side I just came back from. And I'm like, well, that's weird. So the mechanic, pretty soon he sees me. I'm circling the back of the truck, walking from side to side. And he's like, uh-oh. I said, uh-oh, what, Chris? And he goes, I don't like when you're walking around trucks. You just find things for me to fix. I'm like, well, that's the goal, right? We don't want it broken. And he's like, no, I know. He said, you hear that air leak too? And I'm like, yeah, but I said, I went to this side and it sounds like it was on the other side. I went to the other side and it sounds like it was back over here. So clearly it's in the middle. I said, do we have a brake valve leaking or, you know, a plastic airline that has shrank, you know, and it's got a little tiny air leak to it. And he crawled underneath and he was able to reach in and he goes, nope, it's this airbag right here.
Yeah.
And he was able to feel the air coming out. And I'm like, you know, we need to replace the airbag, right? No. You know, so.
Yeah, when I was running, Rich, what I like to do is I try to do a really good post-trip inspection, get stuff written up. But in the mornings, I'd like to check my oil, just check my oil, start the truck up, listen for anything really weird, bump my tires, check my lights, make sure my box goes up, my tarp's working, and my lights are working. I'd be out the gate.
Yeah.
You know, so pretty quick in the morning.
Yeah, it is quick. And it just doesn't take long to do a walk around. No. And even though it takes me 2 hours to teach someone to walk around an excavator,
right,
you can really do the whole check in 7 minutes, 8 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're starting your check as soon as you walk into that machine, you're looking things over.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure with the new equipment too, Rich, and with our trucks, they make it so there's a sight glass.
They've ergonomically designed it.
So
to be
you
easier
step
for you.
up, there's the sight glass, or there's the bottle for the power steering or hydraulics
Coolant,
or coolant or whatever.
30 years ago, you had to pull a stick out.
Yeah,
Right.
or take the cap off or look in it or
We still have a few sticks we got to pull out, but most everything is visible. Yeah.
Next time.
Do you have check engine lights on your machines?
Oh, yeah, we do. Yep. And they're linked to GPS. It goes back to the manufacturer, and then our equipment department gets an email, and then I get the email.
Yep.
And, it's a vicious cycle.
I know we need to get going here on talking with you, but How many machines are you running with a check engine light that's on all the time?
Oh,
Rich,
none.
You-
We get them figured out right away.
Yeah.
If we happen to have a check engine light, and most of our check engine lights are going to come from cold hydraulic oil and trying to go too fast too soon in the mornings,
Gotcha.
or low fuel pressure. If we have a plugged up fuel filter, we service our machines every 500 hours, but the filters are only good for 250 or 300. So if we push that, we always get low fuel pressure, or we try to squeeze too much hydraulic oil through an orifice plate or something like that when it's cold temperatures.
How many DEF? I mean, are almost all your machines got DEF on them now?
Yeah, all of our machines do. We do have a couple of generators that run. They're actually considered Tier 4 engines, but they don't have DEF. Some generators do, some don't. I'm not sure
interesting.
if we just caught that sweet timeline and got them without DEF, but most everything we have on site runs DEF now.
Yeah. If you guys don't get to like the check engine lights, I mean, it doesn't sound like there's anything engine wise. Do your machines derate also?
Yes.
I bet the fuel pressure ones do for sure.
Yes, the fuel pressure ones do for sure. It just depends on whatever code it's throwing.
Gotcha.
Some codes we can actually reset a lot of computer issues by turning the master switch off and killing the power for whatever, and John Deere or Caterpillar will tell us to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can look it up and say, oh yeah, we've seen this code before. Go ahead and shut the master switch off. If it comes back, we'll send a tech right out.
And I'm clarifying master switch, which is the same for us on our trucks
It's a
as
battery
disconnecting
disconnect.
our batteries.
It's a
Yeah.
battery
Yeah.
disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
just-
we have to do 5 a day.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time it does fix the problem.
Yeah.
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 It's
Reboot the
At least
computer
for a little while.
Right?
yeah. At
Yeah,
least for a little while. Yeah. Yeah.
Even the computers Control Alt Delete.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Mikey just found a place here in the United States to send out one of our computers and have it worked on.
What?
Which we were excited on. I'm
We
like,
can
oh,
repair in the U.S. of A.
Right.
Crazy.
And, it kind of sucked because the damn thing lasted half a day.
One day, yeah.
Yeah. And then the truck quit. So. Yeah.
But we don't know that's the I mean, that could be a different problem.
Yeah, maybe something took
maybe
the computer
repair.
out.
Yeah, maybe the repair worked, or yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Scooby wanted me to remind everybody when you're fueling, please stay with your fuel hose at the nozzle, at the tank. He did a really good job. Him and Kendrick, we talked about, cleaned up that fuel aisle area
Yeah.
really well. We've already had a fuel spill out there, so if you're fueling, you need to be at the nozzle.
That's interesting. I want to bring that up. We at Garney, when we have a safety inspection, if we have a safety latch on a fuel nozzle, we're required to remove it immediately.
Wow.
Really?
And if we get caught with it, we're in trouble.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's a
So that
writable
means a man,
offense.
a person, a body has to stand there holding that handle on.
If you're not holding the handle, you are in violation.
Yeah.
And it's
like
not fun. I
Yeah.
hate it more than anybody. I
Right?
hate babysitting that nozzle, but it's important.
Yeah.
I was at the fuel station just the other day, and probably the filters were plugged up, and it was really cold. So I started the pump, and it was taking forever. And I'm sitting in the truck, and I'm like, "Gosh, it's got to be getting close." And I jumped out of the truck, and just as I was reaching for the nozzle, it started overflowing.
oh, wow.
It
wow.
didn't have enough pressure
To shut off.
to shut off.
Wow.
And that was at a pretty new fuel station there in Longmont.
That's
So I think it's incredibly important to stay with that nozzle.
Yep, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, anytime you stay with it, it's kind of like Super Dave said, Murphy's Law. You stay there won't be a problem.
Right?
You know?
You don't, now you got 100 gallons of diesel on the ground.
And with the
Yeah.
price of fuel, you might want to set that up so you can reuse it after it spills.
Right? I was just going to say that because that couple of gallons here and there at $4, $8, $10,
Yep,
and you're
yep.
just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And shut your vehicle off.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about that repeatedly, to shut that vehicle off. Again, that's just more hearing, better senses. You can see, hear what's going on.
Is that why? Just because of the noise, mostly?
For me, it is, Rich, but the other 50% of that for me is as the truck is sitting there idling, it's vibrating, and it could vibrate that nozzle out.
Oh, yeah.
So, because at this yard, we do have the connects, the pieces that hold the nozzle on. At our other yard, we don't. So
I wonder if that's becoming a thing in the industry because those handles didn't come with them.
none of them have it in California.
Yeah.
I haven't been to a gas station in California that has it. You have to stand there and
Shove
hold the
your,
nozzle on.
put your fuel cap in it.
Well, of course, yeah, and it works perfect. Either the fuel cap or my pocket knife holds it right open.
We use rocks and sticks.
I used a zip tie the other day. That's
Works good till the guy behind you turned the pump on.
this
What do I
next
do with this?
this next one's yours, Brother Dave, talking about throwing the hoods open with snow on them. What did you witness the other day?
Oh, I didn't witness it, but I see the carnage afterwards, and we're having to have some hoods repaired. But yeah, last week with the snow, we had 2 hoods that we lost the hood shocks on. And what it is instead of standing at the front of the hood, putting your foot in the bumper and pulling the hood over, they're standing on the side and throwing the hood open, right? Well, those shocks are designed to help you lift the hood, right? And then you can push it closed. Well, they're walking around to the sides and just throwing the hoods open, and the only thing stopping the hoods are the shocks. So we're either busting shocks or we broke 2 shocks and we tore one out of the mount. So we're having to have the hood repaired next door. And I think the shocks, I tried to have Mike give me a price on it. For some reason, I thought because those shocks are massive. They're huge. I think they're like $195 now.
Wow.
And we broke 2 of them last week and are having to have one hood repaired. And it's from not opening the hood the way they should be. You know?
Anytime you say next door, I just see dollar signs.
Yeah, at the body shop.
They're
Yeah.
going cheap.
Yeah. I guess I realize that's the body shop, but it's the truck repair, repaint,
Yep.
fiberglass.
Yeah,
Whatever
GL's
the
is
case.
painting body
Yeah.
is where it does on the books.
Yeah.
And, if it goes back there, it's a cost.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, we got something fancy done. No, it's a repair.
Yeah, so we're well over probably $750 in 2 hood shocks and 1 hood repair from not opening the hood the right way. I mean, it's not manufactured that way. You weren't taught that way. There's no hooks in it. There's no handles in it. Stand at the front and open it. If you don't like the snow falling on you, do it slowly and step back.
Do all the trucks have brushes to clean the snow off the hood before you open
They
it?
all have brooms, Rich. Yeah, and you can easily use the broom
Yeah.
and broom the snow off your hood.
Yeah. I was just thinking, on this other stuff, Dave, when you talk about that, and I know years ago, the one guy with the rock trailer, when we had the barn doors, how he would just step away and let the gate swing.
Oh, right.
And it would swing
Bounce.
around and smack the side of the trailer, and he just didn't care about it. And that one day I had that conversation with him. I was like, hey, let me see your pickup. And I said, do you care if I just open your gate and let it drop? And he's like, no, that's going to mess it up. And I'm like,
Exactly,
right? That's the same thing in the rock trailer. And he's like, you know what? He said, I just didn't think about it that way. And lately we watch guys go in and out of the driveways, and it's just our driveways, not a job site, not the pit, not the plant or anything like that. But that urge to move, and then you give it a little bit of fuel, and we just bounce out the driveways. I mean, that front end is just, we're straight, but we just hit and go out, and it just looks so terrible. And I see some of the guys' cars that they're driving, and they're nice cars, and I just wonder if they stood there and let me drive their car out the driveway and hit the driveway at the same speed. Because in it, I mean, is a different feeling. But if you just watched what I did to your car,
Right.
going out the driveway, I wonder if you'd feel a little bit better, or not better, but different about it.
Yeah.
Understand
And
more.
Understand it's that. Okay, it might not feel that bad, but look what the automobile or the truck's doing.
Yeah.
And then so I'm going back around to the snow on the hood. If we just took one of their pickups and just like flung the hood open.
I was just waiting for you to finish to say that, Jim. The analogy is going to your car, unlatching the latch, and then throwing your hood up as hard as you can and
Yeah.
getting the hinges to stop as you open the hood, right?
Yeah.
They have spring assist.
do.
They're or shocks, right, that help the hood open. So you're throwing it to the end of those, and you're going to damage the hood or their shock. Yeah.
Man, last night, teaching moment for Bella. Bella's my 8-year-old daughter, Rich, and man, she's such a great kid, but we got to work through things every once in a while. So now at school, you get a laptop, right? She's got a Chromebook. Well, my wife calls me yesterday and says, "Hey, we got to pay $220 for Bella's Chromebook." I'm like, "For what?" She's like, "She spilled water on it." Ooh. yeah. I'm like, okay. She's like, and she didn't tell anybody. She just pretended it didn't happen, brought the Chromebook to school and told the teacher.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work, right? So they got down to the bottom of it, and I'm like, okay. So we get home last night, and we worked through the deceiving part of, how come you didn't just come and tell us, and we let her know it's okay. And then I was like, well, what do you want to do? I have the receipt, and it's highlighted. What do you want to do about this, Belle? And it broke my heart. Like, it was really hard for me to do. And she's like, well, I know I have $77 downstairs, Dad. I think I should give that to you. I'm like, I think you're right. And it was hard to take that money, and I put it in my safe. Like, I'm going to end up giving it back to her. Like, when because she wants to buy a tablet. Like, she's saving up for a tablet. She gets $10 a week allowance. She did that little modeling gig and got $50 for freezing a little butt off a few weeks ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So eventually, I would like to give that money back to her. But how do you teach a kid that? Like,
I think you did.
Yeah.
I hope so.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. I was like,
And it wasn't until I had a kid, Jim, that I realized tough love was the parent. Right? It's hard on the parent. The kid's got it easy, man. That tough love means it's hard, right, on the parent to do that. So you did good.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. I mean, it's not the right words for Bella, but the money wasn't the money. It was now she has skin in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She is learning.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't really understand. She knew and she's got such art. She had $100 a few weeks ago. Well, she wanted to buy my wife a $20 husky. Do you know what a plushie is? It's like a stuffed animal. Like,
Yeah.
And I just want to tell her, like, Bella, like, save you $20. You know what I mean? But her heart, like, I want it, Dad. Like, I picked it out. I did research. She tells me, will you buy it on Amazon? It's $21, and I'll give you the money. I'm like, yeah, we'll do that. You know what I mean? So now she's learning, like, how long it took her to come up with this money, and it's gone.
Yeah.
Now you got to save it back up again.
And when she's older, you'll see the result of this lesson.
I hope so, Rich. I hope so.
Tough love.
It's tough, man.
Yeah, because if you spill water on her Chromebook, she's going to get some money from you.
Oh, yeah.
No, she'll take that glass of water and move it way over there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That'll be the last time.
Did I say a glass of water? I never said a glass of
No,
water.
You just said
I'm
water.
Just saying,
Water.
How
she'll
about-
keep the water
I assumed
away.
a glass.
How about a water balloon?
Oh, wow. Yeah, nothing good comes from water balloons. Nothing.
In the house?
Right?
When my wife told her to quit messing with the balloon?
Oh.
So is that an Adams 12 school?
I think so.
I mean, I'm just guessing because Westminster, that's where
Westminster.
Sam goes, right?
Yeah.
So they have an insurance program
Right.
that I'm sure now you'll join because she'll have a Chromebook the rest of the way through,
Yeah,
through graduation.
We probably opted out of that. Honestly, I just see a Chromebook. I don't think like, where'd the Chromebook come from? Like, it's part of her school, Like,
Yeah, I think every parent is thrilled. Like, we don't have to be responsible for books anymore. The Chromebook, and then they have this happen to a Chromebook. I mean, we've been there, done that, Jim.
Right.
Wasn't water, but I don't remember. I think it was just dropped, right? Because you're supposed to have it in a case and all of that. And I think Sam actually dropped his backpack, if I'm not mistaken, and something happened to it. And there we were at the store that night trying to get another Chromebook or get it repaired or whatever the case was. I don't even remember it this time. And it's like, oh man, give me a book.
Love that kid. All right, moving on. Have we talked about soft shoulders lately?
Are those the supple, luxurious ones you might find on a woman?
That you see in a tank top?
Yeah, in a tank top?
Absolutely.
Soft shoulders?
Yes,
Okay.
soft shoulders. Some of them have a tattoo.
Or maybe on a man. I want to be totally
Not going
equal.
They better be swolgers. They better be swole. Yeah, so we had somebody get stuck the other day, and it seems like we just talked about this last week or the week before. Yeah, if you're pulling over on the side of the road, you got to know what you're pulling onto. Those shoulders. I almost said soldiers. Those shoulders are super soft right now. They're muddy. They're wet. Really easy to get stuck.
Yeah. How's your job sites, Rich? They're nice and dry, right?
No, they're awful. They are. We're in an area we call the swamp right now, and everything around us drains right where we're trying to lay pipe.
Are you still over by 104th?
Yeah, well, we're right behind HBS Trash Company in the right north of 120th, right off Highway 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
you're working the other way.
We're working from north to south.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That's what I thought.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We're doing bores and stuff under 104th right now. We
Gotcha.
have stuff going in about 6 different places.
Huh. Gotcha.
Yeah, so back to the soft shoulders, and I just joked with Rich about the mud and stuff, and I think yesterday's deal was the driver had a blowout or a flat tire and pulled to the side, but you can't. Every situation you just can't panic. Even if you need to stop,
Right.
throw on the 4-ways and go, okay, what do I need to do, or get a hold of the shop or anything like that. We're just every place we're going to go, and today's storm. It dried up maybe a little bit this week or melted a little bit.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and yesterday were pretty dang nice.
Right.
And the wind helped dry and melt a lot.
It really dries stuff out.
Yeah.
But the frost is coming out of the ground.
Exactly,
we
Rich.
were seeing
Yeah.
18 inches of frost there for a little while where we're digging, and just because the surface looks dry, that subsurface is just getting softer and softer with the nice weather.
Yep.
And I bet you haven't seen that in years, have you, Rich?
We haven't.
Yeah.
I can't remember a year that we've had snow on the ground since before Christmas. I mean, it's just until the last couple days.
Yeah, I remember years ago, like at Aurora Pipe Jobs and stuff, they'd have, 500 tons of frost just piled off to the side.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just-
Right.
you haven't seen that in
Yeah.
years.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep. Last thing on the discussion is JFW standards on the CB radio. So everyone knows we have 2 radios. We have the company radio and the CB radio. We refer to the company radio as the family channel because we're supposed to watch what we're saying on there. You also want to watch what you're saying on the CB radio. We can't be over at Brandon's Properties talking trash, and making a bad name for ourselves. We got to be respectful to their employees and each other on that radio. You don't have to be quite as polite, but
I mean, when you're running with your buddy, say what you
Yeah.
want to say. When you're out together having fun, whatever, to a degree, right?
Yeah.
But
on a different channel than
yeah,
the pit.
yeah. When you're in with a pit or the customer or whatnot,
Right.
I mean, you need to pretend like that microphone you're holding is you're standing looking at somebody in their face,
right,
talking to them.
Good point.
So
Yeah, I just look at it as the shopping cart.
Yep.
There is no police for the CB.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
nobody holding you accountable.
Yeah.
You can say whatever the hell you want on it and probably not going to get in trouble.
And the situation arose, right? And the driver I was talking to about this says, well, so-and-so was doing this on the radio. I'm like, well, he doesn't work for JFW.
Right.
You know what I mean? We can't control what other people
Yeah,
do.
exactly.
But
Jim.
we could take the high road. We could sound more professional. It's okay to joke. You got to know your audience, but even your audience may change day to day. What kind of mood are they in? But at the end of the day, they're a customer.
Yeah, I mean, how many times, just for our guys, and I mean, you're right, Jan, we can't control the other drivers. The other people in the other trucks didn't put the shopping carts up. But how many times does our family members here announce on the company radio that they have their kids riding with them?
Yeah.
8, 9, 10, 12, I don't know. Because
Right.
it is the coolest thing to have them get on the radio, say good morning,
Yep.
and then they got to listen to the trash on the CB.
Right.
Because you have to have it on in the pit.
Right.
I mean, it's
That's a good point.
Hopefully that doesn't come from our teammates.
Yep.
Again, you can't control the other truck drivers, but even then, bring some class, be better,
Lead by example.
right? Yeah, Rich,
Absolutely. Take the high road.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Rich, it's showtime. Been trying to get to this part of the podcast for 12 hours.
This will be real quick.
We're gonna drag it out. Typically, we get a guest on. I start stalking the guest, but I have a few days to do it. This was like, hey, we got Rich coming tomorrow. Okay, great.
Which is because it was a snow day,
Right.
and because Dave mentioned having Rich on quite weeks ago, and I was like, how with it snowing tomorrow, can Rich come, Dave?
yeah, I mean, usually we give people 4 days notice. Rich had like 4 hours. Called him after lunch, like, hey, do you want to come to the podcast tomorrow?
Typically, I find somebody that knows the guest, and I try to get dirt. So I did find somebody that knows you. I try to get some dirt, and that would be Drew Cordova. Do you know who that is?
Yeah,
works-
I don't know very well, but it rings a bell.
Yeah, he works with your brother Travis.
Yep.
And then your niece, actually, I think, works directly for him.
That's correct.
Yeah, so I was like, you got anything on this Rich guy? And he's like, I don't. I'm like, okay, great. Your Facebook is clean. Like, there's
Well, the good news the reason we're clean is because when Dave and I grew up, not everything was recorded or on video.
Right.
So
Thank God there wasn't cell phones in the 80s.
that's right. So we were able to maintain a pretty clean background.
That's cool.
If you didn't have a police record, it didn't happen.
Right?
I did have the pleasure of meeting you once before out in Nebraska. I can't remember. Was it a few weeks before my wedding or at the wedding?
No, it was before.
Before,
you
I
guys
think.
were out there looking at
Just looking at stuff. Yeah, you and your wife were out there hanging
That's
out.
right,
and,
yeah.
got to talk to you I talked to you more today than I did for 2 days. But yeah, it was good to know you. So Rich, you are a senior superintendent at Garney Construction.
that refers to my age.
Is that all the senior is?
In my world, yeah.
Is it? When do you go from super to senior super?
Good question. I guess when the Garney upper management decides. Yeah,
okay.
it's just a different employee code, really.
Gotcha.
That everybody has a different code.
So you get paid more money to be senior.
Pretty much that's the reason. yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. We're going to start calling you Senior Super Dave. I like it.
I'm older than anybody at this table, so I have earned it.
I like it. You were teasing a little bit about going to high school with Brother Dave and Mikey. So what was that like? Were you guys like,
Oh,
you guys like BFFs?
it was fun. I mean, Dave was irresistible because he's cool now, but he was cool back then too. So he had the coolest car, 65 Mustang, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Black, blue pinstriping,
Is he
289.
cool now?
He was fast. Well, if you ask him, he says yes. So I have to
I
believe
said
him.
yes back then, too.
Yeah.
And what was Mikey like?
Mikey had this array about him. He always had this big group of people around him. He drove a Nova too, by the way.
Very cool.
So,
Novas
but he
were
always,
cool.
yeah, he had this big group of people wherever,
Big group of people.
wherever Mikey was, we called him Buff
Nice.
back then. But wherever Buff was, he had a party going on around him.
It is kind of funny, Rich, because
That's
as Mikey has become senior shop foreman, the red has faded to a gray, so there's not as much buff now. So it comes with that senior.
It's like all of us fading to that gray, right?
Yeah. So we've shifted to Mikey.
right. Right.
Were you guys good kids, or did you get into a lot of fights? Or
No, we were pretty good kids. We all stayed pretty clean, to my knowledge. I can't speak for Dave, but we caused a little bit of trouble. We found out that the rebuilt 289 wasn't as fast as a
big block.
or a bike. Some of them bikes were fast, but
were you just challenging the world with your 289? Or?
I mean, why not?
Yeah, that's
Right.
awesome, man.
yeah.
So when they said you were coming on, Brother Dave told me that if it moves, you want to shoot it. You're a big hunter. So what is your favorite thing to hunt?
Oh, right now I would say pheasants.
Yeah.
I like to hunt pheasants. It's a
Okay.
good rush. It's good exercise. You can hunt as much or as little as you want, and it takes a lot less commitment. Hey, that looks good. Let's run through that pile of brush and see if anything comes out.
Gotcha.
It's not like the big game stuff where you really have to make a time commitment, spend a lot of time, and
Right.
you have to get into it if you want to be successful.
I did see some pictures. Looks like you got an antelope maybe recently or not so recently.
Oh yeah.
Little,
So
little speed goat.
kind of a funny story. Hayden and I, my son and I, have been applying for a buck license in Colorado for 17 years, and there was a trophy area over by Maybell, Colorado, Unit 11, that was a trophy area. And then about 2 years before, 2 years before I actually drew my tag, they had a real bad winter kill over there.
Oh, yeah.
So the antelope numbers were way down, and we hunted for 2 days, and I wound up shooting the best buck that I could find
Nice.
in those 2 days.
Yeah, it
But
looked good.
it was way less than what we were expecting to find over there. They just weren't there. There was guys over there shooting 12 and 13-inch bucks.
Wow.
And it took 15 years to
Wow.
get the tag.
Ha.
Wow.
It was just crazy. So
Gotcha. Do you ever go elk hunting out there?
I usually buy an elk tag, but when my dad was alive, we would go. It was annually. We had a big group. My uncle, my dad, my brother, my cousins, everybody would go up to Wester Red Feathers on Dead Man.
Oh, wow.
And it was a big party. We weren't very successful, but we would go. Since, he's got sick, we kind of quit going. I haven't been going
Gotcha.
too much lately.
Okay. I did see a picture of a whitetail as well.
Yeah.
Do you prefer whitetail over muleys? Or
I
do.
do. I think that's the Minnesota boy in me. Minnesota
gotcha.
primarily has whitetail deer.
Sure.
So if you go eastern Colorado, there's quite a few whitetails out there. So my son and I often apply for a tag out along the river, and we go sit up on public land mostly.
Gotcha. Is it tough to get a tag out there?
You can draw a buck tag about every 3 years.
Okay.
So it's not too terrible.
Very cool. Do any geese hunting and stuff like that?
Yeah, we used to. It didn't even buy stamps this year to hunt geese.
Yeah.
We slowly are losing our properties to hunt on. And just busy at work and spending time with grandkids. So I didn't get out this year, but yeah, we used to hunt a lot of geese.
When you say you're slowly losing your properties to hunt on, what does that mean?
So the best property I had to hunt on was owned by a man named Henry Zimmerman, and he died about 4 years ago. And the farmer that leased the land from him absolutely hated goose hunters and hated me being out there, but he couldn't do anything about it because Henry would let me go.
Right.
So when Henry passed away, his sister took control of the property, and she let me hunt the next year after he passed away. But this farmer continually bothered her to not let goose hunters out there, and he finally got his way. So now she says, well, Bill doesn't want anybody to be out there. So anyway, she kind of said no. So we lost that property. There was another property close to Berthoud that we used to hunt, and the guy decided to lease it for $2,000 a year, and I just wasn't going to pay money to kill a goose. So
my buddy owns Rain and Skies Waterfowl Club.
Oh, nice.
And he's got probably, I don't want to exaggerate, but I'm going to say 80 properties.
Yeah.
So he goes out, he'll get on like Onyx Hunt, find a property, go out, contact the landowner, pay them. They go out, they dig the pit, and they'll take care of some other things for the farmers while they're out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you got guys like that buying up properties for their waterfowl clubs, that's got to make it tough too.
And that's what it's coming to,
Yeah.
is these farmers are giving up their properties to these guys that are willing to pay, which...
Yeah, and some of the properties pay more than others, but I think to join his club is like $1,500.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know how many members he has, but some of those properties may get $2,000 a month.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm just thankful it wasn't a government issue. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, that's probably the only thing the government's not trying to dip into. Now that they've listened to the podcast, though, later this afternoon,
Well,
they'll probably
that's
start
the
doing
weird
something.
thing. Did not City and County of Denver buy the gun club out here on
Right.
Sable? And you're like,
Right. I
out of
totally forgot
everything
that.
going on in Colorado and Denver.
The state
The state
of
state,
Colorado
yeah.
bought
The gun
club
out
out there.
on not Sable,
Bromley.
Bromley Lane.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is it?
Colorado Clays.
Yeah,
Yes.
Colorado Clays.
Really?
Yeah.
The
Yes.
state bought
The
Colorado?
Yes.
state. Is that the
And-
craziest thing you've ever heard?
Wow.
And they let Cape. Well, last time I was out there, they let a lot of the old owners or the people run it and just left it set up, but the state runs it all.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
And you'd think they'd be a little bit against guns.
That's a control thing. At one point, they'll say,
Yeah, done, and then you can't, Rich, right?
yep,
Yeah.
that's they're setting themselves up for the control.
It'll be what is it, like a preservation or something like that.
Right?
They'll change it.
Open space.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Or electric guns.
Electric gun.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Hold on.
I think those are called lasers.
I'm going hunting next weekend. I need to charge my battery.
Yep, let me stick it out here in the sun. I'm reloading. Give me 30 minutes. I'm reloading.
What you shooting?
Yeah.
I got a solar M80 or
Why are you standing like that? Well, I got to have my back to the sun so my solar panel charges my gun.
You got a little solar panel hat with the wire that goes down to the gun. Oh my God! All right, Rich. So you've been. The reason I bring this up is just you're a very committed guy. You've been at Garney a long time, and we'll get into that. But you also been married for 30 years or over 30 years. I did have the pleasure of meeting your wife. I mentioned she seemed like a very nice person. what is your secret to a happy marriage? And most of the time I ask that, I get the same answer. Yes, dear. But I think that's bullshit. I think there's more to it.
Yes, dear.
So when I got home about 7 last night, and I was going over this page, and I was reading the questions, and I got to this question, and I says, all right, what does it say here? What is the secret to happily marriage? And she, without hesitation, turned to me and said, "Be quiet." But we both laughed, and it was totally a joke. But for us, we took the vows. 31 years and 2 months ago, we took the vows, and those vows have to mean something.
Yes.
And it is about commitment. It's about integrity. It's about faithfulness, and it's about loving each other. And it's not always easy.
Nope.
But you took those vows, and it's a commitment. So until death do us part, honey. You're stuck with me.
I actually love that answer because your vows, I mean, it's a covenant, not a contract.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people treat marriage as a contract. Like, yeah, we're good unless this happens, we'll break the contract. You know what I mean? So when you look at it as a covenant, it's a lot different. So I really do like that answer. That's awesome.
I think respect plays a huge part. If we don't respect each other, it's probably not going to work for 30 years. So we have to respect each other.
And communicate.
Well, I'm not sure that, I mean,
she said be quiet.
communicate is important, but
listen.
If anybody,
how about that? How about not communicate so much? Listen.
Right? If anybody's a bad communicator, it's me for sure. So you can get through marriage and not be a great communicator, but it would sure help.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously we're on, I call this radio, but on the podcast here, Rich is going up and down like a wave with his hand. You know what I mean? For everybody that's listening. And
the small waves though. He's not like,
right. But that's life.
Right.
You have highs and lows, right?
Absolutely.
That's family. That's raising kids. That's marriage. That's business. That's day-to-day things. Yep. You have great days and you have some not so great days, but they're still good days. It may not feel like it, but you need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, marriage is like life. It's a process,
or like a box of chocolates.
Not every day is butterflies and roses, and
right.
I think love is what holds that together.
Yeah,
sure, you argue tooth and nail, and then maybe don't talk to each other for 3 days or whatever, but it's love that's the glue that brings you back together.
3 days?
Wow. Right? Hey, I gotta hand it to Jackie. When I was homesick on Thursday and Friday, I was the crabbiest MFer you would ever imagine, and she knows what I'm like. We've been together for 37 years, so she hung in there. Thank you, honey.
That's awesome,
That's
Dave.
funny. So you got two kids. You got a son who works with you at Garney on your crew.
Yep.
And a daughter who's married with 2 children. So we kind of talked a little bit earlier. Do you feel like a successful parent, and why?
Oh yeah, I do feel like a successful parent, and I'm not gonna try to sound like I'm bragging, but I have 2 very, very good kids.
Nice.
Their work ethic is second to none. Holly's got the two kids, so I have 2 grandkids. Maddie, we call her Maddie May. Her name's Madison.
Nice.
So Maddie May and Isaiah, and they're just fantastic. She is a great mother. She's married to Nathan. Shout out to Nathan. He's a school teacher. Oh my gosh, the most patience in the world.
What grade or high school?
High school.
Wow.
He teaches at the school that he went to in Loveland.
Oh,
High.
wow.
So, it was just
giving it back, Rich. Sorry not to interrupt you, but he's giving it back.
Absolutely. He's giving it back, and he's super positive about it too.
Wow.
Which has to be hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
You ask him how the kids are, and he'll never tell you that they're questionable or bad or awful. They're great. He just loves being around the kids, and he's just as good of a dad. I mean, he's fantastic.
Sounds like he's got a good heart.
I haven't been around him a lot, Rich, but he seems like the kindest human being.
He is.
I mean, he just truly is so easy-natured or just so nice.
I kid with him and his parents all the time. They usually come over for Masters parties. Actually, we're going to the Styx concert with them on Thursday night.
Nice.
But they are the absolute nicest people in the world.
Nice.
I mean, it's just
That's cool.
it's mind blowing how nice somebody could be.
Yeah, right. And it's real, right? I mean, we talk about that all the time when Dave goes through the interviews and Jam has kind of keyed on it and created the comment of it. But when we interview a person for a job, you're meeting their best representative.
Right.
Right. A lot of times that's not the person you get. And I get Nathan is that guy.
Yeah.
Right? He is his best representative all the time.
He is.
That's who he
and
is.
he's positive. I've never seen him. We show the roller coaster, the hand wave going up and down like that, but he is just
Steady.
solid as a rock, and he
Nice.
is always kind and compassionate. He's a great father.
Now, you talked about your daughter's work ethic. I'm sure she works hard being a mom, but did she do something before that?
Well, she went to school. She was doing cardiac rehab
Oh,
before
wow.
she got pregnant and decided to stay home with kids.
Nice.
So she was very successful at doing cardiac rehab and
Right.
just chose to be a mom. And
What-
now she's working part-time for a financial company. So she gets to work from home. It's a good combination. And my wife gets to watch the kids a lot. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. What a great choice to be able to make, and sounds
Yep.
like a win-win for everybody.
Win-win. Yeah.
And then your son, I mean, we saw a little video on LinkedIn with, it was a tribute or a piece on you.
Yeah, it was a
highlight-
featured employee
feature.
owner.
There you go. Yeah. And your son, he is a main pipe layer?
He has been. He's been with Garney for almost 10 years now already.
Wow.
So he's my right-hand man. I
Nice.
couldn't even imagine doing my job without him.
That's awesome.
So he was a pipe layer. The level of trust that I put in him and just knowing that I don't have to worry about anything when he's doing it is priceless.
Nice.
But we have actually hired a pipe layer, and against his will, I've basically forced him into a machine, and now he's doing the backfill
Gotcha.
on the pipe lane. So I'm not convinced that he likes it yet, but I need him to be well-rounded.
Sure.
And going out of your comfort zone. He's comfortable in the trench. He loves being in the trench, laying the pipe. The precision that it takes to make sure that every single piece is on line and grade. He has that. He loves it, and he's really good at it. But I really, before I retire, hopefully in a couple of years, I need him to be more rounded, or I want him to be more rounded.
Sure.
So
Now, how long has he been on your crew?
the whole time.
The whole 10
He's
years.
been with me the whole time.
That's awesome. Awesome.
10 years.
Now, you started out working for your dad. Was it also doing pipe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We kind of a funny story. A week after Dave and I graduated high school, he had this bright idea to move into this old house on it was your grandparents' house. On Uinta Street,
Just off Colfax.
East Colfax. I refer to it as East Colfax. My mother must have been mortified at the neighborhood that we were living in, but it was a great time. But we had to pay rent, and in order to pay rent, I needed a job. And back in the late 80s, the economy wasn't as good as it has been. So it was hard to find a job, and luckily my father kept me employed at his company where he worked, and that kind of led into my career. I tell people that I didn't choose construction, it chose me, because believe me, I tried going. I didn't go to college, I didn't do any schooling or get an education. So I applied at lots and lots of other places fresh out of high school, but the only place I could draw a paycheck was
With your dad?
washing equipment and changing oil for my dad in the yard.
And you said you wanted to follow his footsteps, and you followed him to Grimm, which was bought out by Barney after jumping around for a little bit. Brother Dave says, I don't remember him ever jumping around.
Yeah.
So what were those jobs?
They were all construction jobs. I worked for, the long and the short of it was we were at a company called Teardale, and then we went to
Which your dad was a partner in.
He was
right,
a partner
Rich?
in, yep. And then him and Tim Meyer split up,
Right.
And my dad went to Grimm. I went to a company my dad went to BTC.
Oh.
And I went to BTC, and then the winter came along, and they laid everybody off because it was just too cold to work. So we got job attached layoff. I went to a place in Longmont, and I can't think of the name of it, but it's a warehouse. I applied. My dad said, that looks like a great place for a young man to get his foot in the door. So I went and applied, and they actually gave me a job, but it was graveyard shift, working in the freezer, pulling order for convenience stores.
Gotcha.
Oh, it was awful.
Oh, so was it for like McLean's or?
Yeah, McLean's. That's exactly
There
what
you
it
go.
was.
Right
Yeah.
there in Longmont.
Yep. So McLean's, that lasted about 3 months. And when springtime broke, I went back to the construction, worked for AUI. And then I went to Grimm. They shipped me out of town. I was freshly married. Decided out of town wasn't the best choice. So I came back to AUI. And then in November of 92, I landed back at Grimm after, 5 job changes in the last 2 years or 3 years. Landed at Grimm, and I've been there ever since.
Right. Gotcha. And what year did Garney buy Grimm?
So the buyout happened in April of 2000.
Okay, so
Yeah, so 23 years,
Okay.
almost 23 years ago.
gotcha. And you,
So you were like 8 years at Grimm.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And those years of service counted. The reason that I can say I have 30 years of service is those Grimm years counted towards seniority.
now you're considered a employee owner.
Yep.
And I heard you say on the feature that your son is also gonna be or is a.
Every single person that works at Garney is an employee owner. So
Oh,
we
wow.
refer to them as EOs,
Gotcha.
employee owners.
Okay.
So we're a 100% employee owned company. We don't have one owner.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? What does that mean to people listening?
Well, it means that if you come to work for Garney, you're going to be a stockholder.
Stockholder.
Yeah.
Got
If you every year that you work there, if you meet the requirements, which is 1,000 hours of service, you're going to get 15% of whatever you make in that calendar year into your stock account, and the next year you'll get another 15, and the next year you'll get another 15. Well, those shares, you'll get stock shares, and if the company continues to grow and those stock shares continue to increase, your retirement count is going to increase substantially.
Gotcha. And that's the ESOP.
That's the ESOP, Employee Stock Ownership Program.
Got it. Okay. And then, so do you need to work the 1,000 hours first? Like somebody signs up, they got to work 1,000 hours before.
Well, the thing is, you just have to start soon enough in the year. Typically June or July is the cutoff in order to get 1,000 hours before the end of the year. So
That makes sense, Rich. I just did you said 1,000 hours. I'm like, how many weeks is that? Yeah, that's you're spot on. You work about 52 weeks at 40 hours a week is 2,040 hours or something like that.
Right.
So you're
6
spot on.
months.
6 months
Yep.
is 1,000 hours.
Yep. So you just have to start soon enough to get those 1,000 hours. You can start in January and easily get the 1,000 hours.
Gotcha.
And that's a vesting year. If you get 1,000 hours, it's a vesting year. If you don't get 1,000 hours, you still get the money put into your account. You're just not vested.
Got it.
You will, if you stay long enough, get that money because you're going to vest over a 6-year period of time.
Is that what it is? 6
Yeah.
years? 6 years to be vested?
Yep.
So have you ever went to terminate somebody and they're like, "Pfft, I'm an employee owner. You can't terminate me."
So I don't tell very many people this, but I have a secret saying, and it's easy to tell people we're 100% employee owned by others. Yeah, I mean, it's just, we still have to follow the rules. We're still a company. We still have policies.
Sure.
Just because we're owners don't mean we get to make our own rules. We still have council members and board members, and we have to follow the rules just like any other company.
We all answer to someone, right, Rich?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody has a boss, huh?
Yeah, everybody.
Rich, do you sit on a board?
I don't.
No.
And
want to?
And then, sorry, Jim,
Oh,
go
it's
ahead.
okay.
I just didn't want to get too far because Rich also said, so the last time I talked to you, how much does Garney expect to grow every year? Rich, don't they have like a...
Yep. So our target to grow every year is 6%.
So you're the company's vesting you, and they have a goal of growing 6% every year as long as you're part of that company.
Right.
And I found that so interesting that they already, all the employees have a goal, right? I mean,
Yeah.
basically, and then they're rewarding you for that. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Jim.
Not to get off into the weeds and technical, Rich, but what determines the growth? Is that 6% of money earned, or 6% of your employees? Like, Garney has 1,500 employees across the nation?
Yeah,
or?
we're like 1,900. So,
Okay, yeah.
so our target is 6% average.
Of people? You want to grow by 6% people?
Yep, 6%, but
Which
it's all of the above, Dave.
Okay,
So we
okay.
don't just look at the number of people that we have. That's not how we determine our growth. But we also look at our backlog, and we look at our revenue for the year.
Sure.
How did we do 6% more revenue than we did last year? So there's, it's kind of a combined.
It's not cut and dry.
It's
not one item. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So this particular year we actually grew 15% because of the amount of work in Arizona and Texas and even Colorado. We didn't grow as much in Colorado, but as a company we grew 15%.
That's huge.
It is, and they're real cautious about growing too fast. They know that there's going to be growing pains if we grow too fast. So they want to average 6%. I would expect them to cut that back a little bit next year for sure.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of guys or girls there that have been there 30 plus years?
No, not that many. We have, quite a few 20 year guys. My excavator operator, Mario, has been with me for this will be his 26th year.
Wow.
So he was with you at Grimm.
He was with me at Grimm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's pretty
So
cool.
there's a few employee owners staggered out through Colorado that were here with the Grimm buyout that have, 20 plus years of service.
Now, I don't know if you'll be able to say this because you've been at the same place for so long. Do you feel that employee ownership actually empowers people? Like, do they feel empowered? Do they seem more bought in, or
More vested?
I hope so. We see both ends of the spectrum. We see the people that totally buy into it. We see the people that think it's just another job.
Right? Got
They
it.
don't believe that they're going to be owners. We see
Gotcha.
both ends of the spectrum. I consider myself an ESOP ambassador. I spend as much time as anybody wants to spend explaining the whole process to them and telling them why it's important to take care of tools, take care of equipment. They need to know
Comes out of your
that
bottom line.
it is your money too.
Right?
When someone else makes a mistake, we all pay for it. So let's watch out for each other.
I like it. So currently you are working on a project called the Second Creek Interceptor Project, correct?
Correct.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. It's a difficult project. It's about 18 miles of sewer for Metro Water Recovery,
Wow.
formerly known as Metro Wastewater District. So it's a big contract. It's about $132 million contract. Like I said, 18 miles. There's 14, maybe up to 15 bores and tunnels on the project right now.
Wow.
We have 3 major tie-in points. After the pipeline is substantially complete, we'll have to go and introduce flows into the pipe. So we're looking hard at that now. It'll probably happen the first part of 24.
Wow.
But yeah, it'll have consumed 3 years of my career. It's a legacy project for me. I feel like I'm at the tail end of my career, and it's been a challenge, but it's also been a fun and rewarding project, and I'm super proud to be a part of it.
Nice. So, and guys, you could jump in whenever you want.
Yeah. I guess I want to know, where is that carrying
Sewer.
to and from? Right? Is it going from the south to the north to the Metro District?
All the sewer that goes through this pipe that we're installing will end up in Brighton at the new sewer treatment plant there at 160th and Highway 85 that we built 7 years ago.
Wow, I was going to say like 3. Oh my gosh, Rich.
Yeah.
Time flies.
So that's the Metro wastewater facility.
So
we
is
built.
that facility at what, half capacity?
Oh, it's if that even right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They built it for this pipe.
I thought about working there, but I don't take shit from anybody.
And
We're back to the dad jokes.
And on that kind of stuff, Rich, is that because that has to go to a pump station at some point and then pumped some miles because it can't have flow for 18 miles of downhill or uphill to Brighton.
One of the reasons, Jim, that this project is so challenging is because there's aging lift stations upstream from us that they want to take out of service, and all 3 connection points that we have on this project are at lift stations. It's a deep, wet, nasty pipeline, and the whole purpose is to take these lift stations out of service. Everything will be gravity.
Wow. Really?
Everything will be gravity from where we at our tie-in points.
Yeah.
There's also other projects. We call them stakeholders, that South Adams County Water District, Brighton, Commerce City, all have connection points to this line, and they'll eventually tie into it. Wow. So it's built with capacity.
What size is the line?
So it starts at 60. It's 72 going into the plant.
72 inches going into the plant.
72 into the plant where we started this segment. There was a 7-mile segment that was done. They called it the South Platte Interceptor. That was done by another company 5 years ago. So this segment starts at 60 inch. Almost all of my segment that I'm in charge of is 54 and 48 inch.
Wow.
So it does
4 to 5 to 6 foot sewer line.
Yeah.
And at what capacity is that line when it's going to go into use? Is that line a quarter full, half full? I mean, you'd hope it's not over half, right?
No, I think if you go over half, you've under-designed it.
Right? I guess that's why
there's capacity. I can't tell you the exact percentage of capacity, but there's going to be capacity, like I said, for these other...
Depends on the time of day, right?
Right? Right? So, yeah, there's other connection points. Right? They've planned for a lot of development between here. You guys have seen the amount of construction that's gone on.
Oh, yeah.
And there doesn't appear to be slowing down too much right now, but there's just a lot of dirt moving, a lot of houses being built. And
So when we say south, I mean, I kind of describe it as diagonal a little bit, obviously, right? Going south
and east.
And where does it end out east? Is it past DIA? Is it out like towards where the spaceport's going to be, or
I don't know
where does it end?
I don't know where the spaceport is, but one of our connection points, our first connection point, is at the Gateway Lift Station, which is at 64th and Tower Road.
So the Gateway, the whole new subdivision that's being built out in Aurora, right? Isn't that Gateway?
There's an old City and County of Denver lift station that sits behind the Hyatt Regency Hotel at basically Pena, where the light rail goes through.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It'll be south of that and east of Tower Road.
Gotcha.
There's a lift station. You can't see it. You would never know it's there just driving by.
Yeah.
You have to get on the access into it.
Yeah. Most people don't even know there's lift stations in sewage. You know what I mean?
No.
The average person they flush it's like electricity. It's just in the plug, and I don't know where my water or toilet water or shower water goes
away.
Right? I mean, the average person has no idea what that takes.
Yep.
I mean, I laugh because there's a lift station right down here at the end of our street for South Adams County Water and Sanitation, and you remember Larry Jones, right? So he works there. Once a month, they have to come down and start the generator in case there's a power outage. They verify the generator is going to work, and it pumps everything. Its main supply at that particular point is the truck stop.
Yep.
And I kind of laugh at that. Like, a truck stop needs its own lift station.
Right?
Yep.
So, right? Exactly.
I get it.
So, anyway, keep going, Rich.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So anyway, that's one of the connection points. And 4 years ago, we did what we call the Segment 1E for the city of Aurora that takes off from that lift station and goes up almost all the way to the Gaylord Hotel.
Oh, wow.
So now there's another project that's getting ready to start up by another contractor. It's called the First Creek Interceptor, that's going to pick up from our Segment 1E end and take it 12 miles further to the north or south and the east. And then I'm in charge of 2 of the 3 connection points. So the second connection point that I'm in charge of is going to be in a new development area. There's a lift station that's out in the middle of nowhere. Again, you would never know it's there. It's incredibly difficult to access it because of the mud, and you have to drive through fields and stuff to get there. But the whole area is under construction with warehouses. Wow. And if you go on 64th and go east of 470, it's over in that vicinity. So south of Pena, east of 470, there's a third connection point that is basically straight east of that, where
Now,
there's another lift station.
You did a ton of work out there with Gaylord when they were building, right?
Yeah, that was the Segment 1E project.
Okay, all right. But that was a lot of that was due to Gaylord's, right?
I'm sure
no?
it had a. I mean, Gaylord's flows go right into that.
Okay.
But right now, that sewage is going into the Gateway lift station, which is owned and operated by the city of Aurora, and that will also be decommissioned when our pipeline is in service.
Now-
So if this is, I'm sorry, Dave.
No,
if
go ahead.
This is all gravity, right? You're removing lift stations. What's the, and I don't know the right words to use, Rich, but what's the percentage of decline that you need to keep everything moving? Is it I don't know, 5 inches for 50 yards or something?
Right. So all of our
per foot.
so a quarter inch per foot would kind of imply pitch. Those are plumbers' terms. We don't use those. We use percentage of grade. So it's all based on every segment is different between two manholes. And it might be because we have to get under a utility or we have to get under a creek, or it might just be because we need to make it work. But we have everywhere from the run of pipe I'm putting in right now is at a 0.9%, which means it is almost a foot of fall in 100 feet, which is a lot of slope in our world.
Yeah.
A lot of the pipe that we're putting in is at a 0.2, 0.23.
Wow.
But when you're talking only 0.2 of a foot in 100 feet, that's flat.
Yeah, that is nothing.
So the precision required on this, and Metro has a really tight spec. They want us to stay within 100th of a foot, which is a 32nd of an inch.
Oh my gosh.
Line and grade. So it's quite the ordeal. We set up instruments every day and we shoot in every single piece of pipe, line and grade.
I don't know
as
if
we
you can
go.
answer this, Rich, but when all that sewage goes to the reclamation plant, how much is turned back into water? Do you have any idea?
I couldn't tell you.
I mean, that would be. I think we're getting to a point with such low water supplies, and thank God we're having the winter we are in the mountains. But that's just becoming such a concern. Are cities and counties starting to fight for that sewage because they can turn? I'm making it up. Like for every 100 gallons of sewage, they get 50 gallons of water.
Yeah, they're taking non-potable water and making it potable.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's
for
the case, but
irrigation or all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
100%. If you pay attention, you can already hear cities downstream fighting and complaining that their water flows are lessening and lessening. And the reason is, like Metro, they're taking some of that water, setting it off to the side and using it to water golf courses and stuff like that. And they're not turning as much water back into the river. So the wintertime months can be kind of challenging, or they're getting more challenging. And we hear about lawsuits all the time about how much water is not getting discharged into the river
right.
from these plants.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, a lot more and more reuse. Every time you see a purple piece of pipe going in, it's reused
Reclaimed.
water.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do see a lot of the purple pipe
Yeah, there's so many
on trucks and stuff.
So many neighborhoods,
Yeah.
like Jim's neighborhood, aren't they purple fire hydrants, Jim? Or am I?
Yep, that's
What-
probably off of an irrigation line.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Aren't they purple fire
I think
hydrants?
so.
Yeah.
I think
mean, that's
so.
just so people know it's reclaimed rather than. And I bet again, the average person doesn't know that.
No, I just
Right?
learned it just now.
Yeah, you'd have to live in one of those communities, right,
Yeah.
where that's common. So
Yep, I just learned that myself.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Dave. So
don't drink the water if it's purple.
no,
Don't drink out of that hydrant.
Don't tap that purple pipe.
Rich, in the quarterly feature, you start talking about leadership, and you state you're not the best at it, but not the worst at it either. So, in your 30 years, what have you done to change and become a better leader?
Wow, that's a big question right there. I think wisdom and experience has changed me, but it changed me a lot 10 years ago when my son came on board. You just start realizing that not everyone is the same, right? People learn differently. basically become the football coach. I have to find the position that you're good at. I want you to stay, but you're probably not going to be too good at quarterback. You're more of a lineman type person. So probably the biggest change I've had is that just being able to find the good in people and what they're good at, and making them feel good about what they do, and putting them in a position for success rather than putting them in a position for failure.
Yeah, we call that put them on the right seat on the bus.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Did you have a lot of leadership training through Garney? Did they send you places? And
yeah, we've done a fair amount, and it's good. It's all good training. I think I could find value in all of it. Sometimes it's not as valuable, but yeah, it pays off. I think it's important.
Do you ever, Rich, fight the stigma with your operators and stuff like that, or like even your son being down in the ditch and stuff, where they go, I'm just an operator, I'm just a pipe layer, I just, it's not a glamorous career. Do you ever get that kind of feedback, or you get that guy that's really, really good at as being an operator, but he says he's bored and he doesn't realize how good he is?
Occasionally, Jim, those guys come through the door, and I actually fight. Like I said, my hoe operator's been with me for going on 26 years. Hayden's been there for 10. My loader operator's a 16-year employee, so I have some longevity. It's a bigger challenge for me to get those guys to accept more responsibility, because I want them to be leaders, but they're comfortable doing what they're doing.
They just want to be a dude, is what we
They
call
just
that.
want to be a dude, and they're fantastic. And if they
Right.
want to be a dude, I'm going to let them be a dude, because
Yeah.
they're really good dudes.
Yeah, good point. That's awesome.
you also talked about, if you want to be in construction, do it at Garney, but stay. Don't just jump ship for a few bucks, because it'll be worth it. What did you mean by that?
Well, that's primarily the ESOP.
Gotcha.
It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but if you stay for the duration, you're going to have a secure retirement.
Nice.
And you're not going to get that at most other construction companies. You're going to have a 401k. We have a 401k, but we also have the stock ownership program. So if you're going to work construction, the color of the pickups don't usually change. The name on the equipment is the same. The pipe comes from the same supplier. We use the same shovels as the contractor next door. Everything is the same, but you might as well have the benefit of being an owner.
Sure. Gotcha. What's your crew like now and the current workforce at Garney?
I have a solid crew, and I have had since we started this project. I have some incredible young talent project engineers that came out of college that are future leaders that want to be in the leadership, and they're very committed, very driven, and very smart. They do a fantastic job.
When you say young, what's young these days?
22, 24.
So literally right out of college.
Literally.
Almost. Wow.
Yeah. I've got a guy that's been around for, just 3, maybe going on 3 years now, and he's slated to take my crew over whenever I decide to pull the pin, and he's incredible. He's just on the fast track.
Gotcha.
On the fast track. He can do it with ease.
What about your son? Does he want to just be a dude, or
He just wants to be a dude. Yeah. I've given him lots and lots of opportunities over the years to move up, climb that ladder. And he says, I just want to go home and have a beer.
not thinking about it?
And I want to hunt on the weekend. So he loves to hunt, and he doesn't want to think about it. And you know what?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I actually admire the people that are not so career driven, right? They don't have to have that new pickup and stuff. He just wants to hunt and have his time.
And I thought the last time, because we even were out at the job site and visited you that one time, but you have had some problems with Garney getting like laborers and stuff, right, Rich? I mean, you've had advertisements for 6 months or something.
Right.
I think you told us or something like that.
And that challenge is still there. Right now, it seems like the challenge, there's people that come through the door and say they want to work at Garney, but they don't really. Maybe it's because they can't pass a drug test, or something better came up in the meantime, or maybe they just had to put that application in so they could continue drawing unemployment. But whatever the reason is, it's hard to find. It's easy to find help. It's hard to find help that's willing to do what we do every day.
Good point.
And it's true. It takes, we describe everything as a chain here, right? You need that laborer with the shovel in his hand as much as you need that hoe operator, as much as you need that pipe layer, as much as you need everything. I mean, that's what we run into here, and we try and describe that, I mean, we talk about, the guys from washing the trucks, the mechanics to repairing them, the drivers to driving them. And we joke, we don't joke. There's, just so you know, there's two positions. There's two jobs here at JFW, basically. One is a driver, and two is driver support.
Yep.
And everyone here, with the exception of you, we're all driver support.
Yeah.
So
we push that all the time, Dave, and we can't. My hoe operator is useless if I don't have guys in the trench laying pipe.
Right.
My guys in the trench are useless if I don't have a good, reliable hoe operator to dig the trench and set the pipe. It takes everybody. Everyone is equally as important. We are all owners. We're all employee owners, and we need each other to function. Not one guy is more important than the other.
That leads me to the next question. Brother Dave was explaining one time that you guys had a managers meeting, and the speaker kind of intertwined everyone's job from, maybe the billing specialist or accounts payable to account. Can you explain that exercise you guys did?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember having that conversation with Dave, and it was a segment or a training exercise that we did at our workshop, and it was called A Day in the Life.
That's it. Yes.
It was called A Day in the Life, where we have, just like JFW Corporation, we have a lot of components to the company that are required to keep the company running smoothly. So it was a great opportunity for us to see what the people in the office do, in the corporate office, maybe the content development team, what do they do? Our accounts payable, our project coordinators who enter our time and make sure that we get paid every week. It was a great segment to hear from them what an entire day looks like for them and how much work it is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we get caught up in the fact that we're a construction company. All we have to do is go out there and do the work. Everything else happens by itself.
It's magic.
Yeah, it's magic. So, but I can also understand that people in the office might think that maybe we're just a bank. We don't need the guys in the field to turn this money over and count these, dollars.
Yeah. They think it's magic on their end.
Yep. They think it's magic too. So I think it's important for everybody to understand what each other's job description is and why it's important to keep the company running.
And it's not that one job is more important than the other. You know what I mean?
That's what I put.
They are all equally important. I mean, we tell the story all the time about when the president went to NASA and he asks the janitor, "Hey, what's your job here?" And the janitor looked at him and said, "I helped put a man on the moon." He did.
Yep.
Right? He's not just the janitor.
That's right.
So
we have a saying, and you guys probably do too. You've seen it all over, but we treat the janitor with the same respect that we do the president.
Sure.
We just do. Everybody has to respect each other.
Yep, I agree. Good stuff. You had mentioned a couple times that you're getting ready to retire in the next few years. What are you going to do?
Oh,
He's
man.
going to come drive truck at JFW.
Yeah. So I got a couple options. Number one, I'm going to spend as much time as I possibly can with grandkids.
Nice.
And I don't know how many that'll be when that time comes, but I want to spend as much time as I possibly can with grandkids. I'm not going to let work ever interfere with a fishing trip to the lake or a hunting trip that might take 3 or 4 days instead of just 1.5.
Right.
Because you got to get back to work. But I probably won't be able to stay busy doing all that stuff. So I got a couple options. One of them might be drive a school bus for the school district.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. So I get summers off, right? Christmas off, short days, go drive bus in the morning, go to lunch, come back, drive in the afternoon. But the other option would be the Ferris wheel operator at Shields.
Nice.
Doesn't that sound fantastic?
Yeah. I would come and ride that Ferris wheel.
Or if you were qualified, Rich, the guy that cleans the fish tank.
Oh,
You know, because he gets all scuba up and everybody, you know, he slides in that tank and cleans all that.
Can you imagine seeing me in that wetsuit?
That's kind of sexy, big boy.
That would overflow the tank, and then I'd be out there with a mop.
Man, I bet almost any job, like if I worked at Shields, I want to be in where they make the fudge. You know,
Oh,
that'd be pretty cool, the fudge maker.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a company that has a culture though. Whenever you're in there, how can I help you? You doing all right? Can I get you anything? You know, that kind of stuff. All the associates walking around, same dress or, you know, outfits, that kind of stuff. Classy place. Usually.
I'm on the non-employee ownership stock program.
I think that's a donation.
Yeah.
Hey, I got 3 shirts in one day. Okay, here for every 5 you get a shirt. I'm like, great, awesome.
I'm thinking that maybe I'll go do that video thing in the parking lot with the people not putting their carts back.
That would be cool. I will send you that link and
Send me that
Well,
link.
I don't know that that's a paying gig.
Well, whatever. It might keep me busy. It will keep me out of my wife's hair.
It would keep you entertained, I'm sure.
You'd have a big following on YouTube.
Right.
So.
I could pick and choose the ones that I approach, right?
No, you gotta be dedicated.
Oh.
You know, it doesn't matter if it's a grandma or, you know, some gangster.
What about the weather? Can I pick and choose the days
Oh,
that I'm out there?
absolutely. That has to be a
Okay.
You know, you may get a Karen, you may get a Darren. You just never know.
Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin was the last one we heard.
Yeah.
Well, you, Brother Dave was telling us a story. It goes back to what Jim was saying about having trouble finding laborers. Mm-hmm. And you guys found some laborers, but it was far away. You guys were working up in Horsetooth, and you got this minivan. But I'll let you take over from there.
I checked him with it this morning. I'm a little off on some of the stuff, so.
Yeah, but
You can exaggerate.
the idea is there, and I know exactly what Dave is talking about. Back in 97, 98, we were doing a job in Fort Collins. We had a contract with the city of Fort Collins. And this particular project required the dredging of Sheldon Lake, or City Park Lake, the one that's right along Mulberry as you go through town east to west. So this lake had a bunch of fish in it. And let me back up a little bit. My entire crew back then came from Denver. And we bought a minivan. The company bought a minivan, and I had like 8 guys that would come up in this minivan every day, which turned out to be a really bad decision because if the van broke down, I didn't have any help.
Man.
Didn't think that through.
Right.
I mean, I didn't think of it till you just said it.
It
Rich.
was
Yeah.
it was great. We ran that thing to like 350,000 miles before we got tired of putting transmissions in it and got rid of it. But anyway, we had this minivan. They had a gas card. It was the only way we could get them to come to and from Fort Collins. But anyway, we had to drain Sheldon Lake. We pumped all the water out, and the Division of Wildlife wanted to save as many fish as they could. Well, there was about 4 types of fish in the lake. There were, number one, there was carp. There was a lot of carp. And then there were catfish, some perch, and some crappies, and some trout. So they had 2 trucks. They brought 2 trucks. One had a live well tank system on it, and they put all the good fish
Trout.
in the live well, and they relocated them, and they actually only had like a 20% mortality rate on those fish. And the carp went in a dump truck to be hauled out to a fertilizer plant.
And how did they get all those fish? I mean, how did
Yeah. So the Division of Wildlife showed up with these boats. We had like 3 boats, and they had electric probes that hung off the front of the boat on each side. And they just trolled the lake, and they needed help. So each boat had like 3 of my guys in it with nets, just scooping these fish as they float to the surface after they've been stunned with electricity. So these guys are just scooping fish and throwing them in the bottom of the boat. The good fish went in a tank.
Right.
They would come in, put the carp in the truck, go back out and get another boatload. but it was kind of funny because these guys that I had just took advantage of the opportunity and kept a lot of the carp.
Oh, wow.
And they apparently thought they were pretty good eating. I've never eaten a carp.
I've just heard they're terrible, so I wouldn't try it.
I wouldn't try it either. But we took them down to the river that went through town, and they cleaned them, took all the guts out, threw them in the lunch boxes and whatnot in the back of the minivan, and to Denver they went with as many fish as they could haul. And
maybe not all of them were in the lunch boxes. So
yeah, maybe
just in the van.
Yeah. They all showed back up the next day with a big smile on their face. So it must have worked out okay. But I know I had to move the van one time, and there was no way I was going to ride all the way to Denver in that thing.
Wow.
It smelled like fish, and I don't know how long it smelled like fish, but it smelled like fish.
That's awesome. You got some time to stick around. We're going to go over some safety topics and
Sure.
tips and tricks. And
Yep.
sometimes
Is it still snowing? Oh, yeah. I'm not going anywhere.
Sweet. All right, safety topics of the week. The first one, tires. Feel like we've talked about tires.
Right?
Yeah.
A couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on? Why do we need to talk about tires again?
Well, we have over 2,000 of them on the road,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And, when we talk about like that truck that drove out that didn't flip the switch and check his tailgate and check his airbags, I made the comment, pretty good odds if you didn't do that, you didn't bump your tires. And we all know what happens when you don't bump your tires if you have a low one, right?
Yep.
We talk about that time and again. And how much heat does that create when the tires ran low?
Is it 2 or 4 pounds of PSI?
It's
2 degrees.
2 degrees for every pound of air,
Right.
right? So if you have a tire that's 10 pounds low, it's running 20 degrees hotter. 99% of our tire failures are due to low tires, right? Everyone knows we have self-inflation systems on the trailers, but is that foolproof, right? If you pick up a big bolt, and the system can't keep up and the light comes on, are you looking for the light coming on during the day? And, we've changed from just a solid white light to a strobing light to, any light to get your attention type scenario. What if the shop has worked on that system and they rotated that valve and turned it off and you're not aware that the system is off, right? Have you checked that? Have you done that? And I kind of find it interesting, and I don't know whether it's pure coincidence or what, but yesterday was kind of a pretty warm day, right? Almost one of our warmest days of this year so far, right?
62.
60 degrees. So it's kind of interesting. We had 3 blowouts yesterday.
Because what causes blowouts?
99% of the time they're low on air.
And heat, right,
Right.
Dave? So we got a warm
Right.
day, and we're taking tires out because they're overheated.
Exactly. Now we have we have gotten so convoluted because of COVID and the supply chain issues. I'd love to sit here and go, every one of our trucks has the TPS, the tire pressure monitoring system, but they don't, right?
No.
A lot of the new trucks we've gotten, even though we ordered it, we had to take them with or without, whether it was available. So we have some new trucks that do, some new trucks that don't. I'd love to tell you, like there was a series of 65 trucks 3 years ago that they should all have that. But anyway, we're doing everything in our power to, notify you that your trailer has a low tire because the light should be on, if the valve is on, if everything's functioning correctly. We're trying to monitor that through the tractor tires, that one of those 10 tires could be low because of the monitoring system. Do we have malfunctions in that? Sure. Have we hit one of those sensors on a wheel where, that may have come loose or it's reading wrong, or, I just had a new one the other day. Somebody mentioned to me, and it's actually been about a month ago, that because that wheel is registered in that location on the truck, right? That sensor knows, I'm making it up, that it's a right front drive tire. Well, at some point in time, we took 8 tires off and we put 8 tires on. That wheel didn't make it to that position. So you're getting a low tire warning for the right front drive tire, and you go out and you're doing your job like, hey, I got to verify this is low. Well, you bump it and it's not low. Well, it turns out in that 8 dismount and remount of new tires, that got moved from the right front to the left rear. And you only checked the right front. So I urge and this was just new. This is something, and we've had these systems for years, right? I hadn't ran into this before, but super easy when you're putting 8 tires on to lose count of where they go, right? I mean, that's something, all my years of changing tires, I didn't have to do that. I took 8 off, I put 8 on. I just knew insides were insides and outsides were outsides. I never had to remember this is this one, and they went back in the same exact 8 spots they were taken off of. So if you do happen to have a low tire warning, bump all your tires, not just the one it's warning you is low. That was something we learned. But yeah, I mean, tires. It's huge and it's dangerous. Rich talks about, life and death, that tailgate being left open. If you have some 1.5 inch rock in that liner or on that liner that just, not all the pieces came out when you dumped, and you take off and you're strolling up to Fry's at 70 miles an hour and that gate's swinging open and it's blowing 1.5 inch rock out. What if it hits someone's windshield that wasn't prepared for it? It's 5 o'clock in the morning and it's dark and that 4-wheeler panics, and they careen off the highway or hit a car next to them. Everything we do, every move we make, we talk about this all the time, there are repercussions to it. And we have to do it right.
How long does it take to bump tires, Dave?
As fast as you can walk around that truck, pretty much, Rich, with a hammer.
A minute?
At tops, yeah. And you're looking at the lights as you're walking through, right? It's the same minute. You're doing multiple things at that time. So, yeah, it is so worth doing your job. We talk about football terms in here, and we just love, not a Patriots fan. I'll say this 100 times, not a Patriots fan, but Bill Belichick's phrase. Do you know Bill Belichick's phrase?
No.
Just do your job.
Who's Bill Belichick?
I just want to touch on that, and I want to touch on it with you, Rick, oh my God. Rich, with the topic here is, you mentioned that you guys are all employee owned. And when you talk to your guys, if they're not, checking the oil or not greasing in that, you have to have a pin replaced or whatever it costs. It all came out of you guys' pockets, right?
That's right.
As employees, right?
Yep.
So that's the same thing, because we're not employee owned, but we've tried to do the same thing with percentage. All the drivers are percentage based. So that is their stake in the company. And like when we talk about checking tires and doing tires, that driver that sat out there and waited for somebody to come out and get the tires fixed, just lost revenue. Okay. Now we've become a better company, and luckily we can afford it. But in most situations, we now pay the driver to be broke down. But like an over-the-road driver, he doesn't get paid for that. He gets paid by the mile. And we've stepped up. But I want to make the point, we can't continually do that. Let's say this time of year, I've had lots of people come to me and go, hey, let's go do this. Let's raise this. Let's pay for this. Let's do this. And there's not the revenue coming in at this time of year as usual. So then when we have situations where you're not bumping your tires, we lose $1,200 a tire worth of blowouts. We lost 2 loads, and then we've stepped up and paid the driver because possibly he didn't do his job or her job, and it just compounds. And I don't think people think of that right. Your percentage, that just made you employee owned, because when something happens, it comes out of our bottom line. And maybe we can't buy newer trailers and better tires and
increase their pay.
Yeah. And I wanted to touch also, Rich, ending there. I know we went to tips and trips. Boy, I can't even talk. Tricks. But, you talk about retirement and you're looking forward to it and not letting work, mess up a hunting trip this time or spending time with the grandkids. I want to make the point, though, for everybody to hear that you put in 30 plus years to get to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You stayed the course. You're the guy that we talk about every day to everyone, and we talk about it in the podcast. You didn't jump from job to job.
He's Garney's Super Dave.
Right? Exactly.
Senior Super Dave.
Yeah. You stayed the course, and now you get to reap the benefits. In most situations, it doesn't come overnight. You're not going to be the president or is it Pete Garney? You're not going to be Pete Garney in 2 weeks.
Right.
It's kind of like I was saying last week. If you look at Rick Bowen, if you look at Theron Olson, those guys weren't born on third base thinking they hit a triple.
Right.
Yeah.
They got up to bat many
Yeah.
times to
They didn't
earn
even
that.
know they were playing baseball when they started, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you do, Rich. I mean, I know how much mud you've walked through, how many times you've been cold, how many times you've shoveled, how many times you've greased a piece of equipment, and it sucks.
How many times he couldn't go on a hunting trip?
Yeah.
How many times he had to put something off? I mean, I know that firsthand.
Yeah.
I mean, he just told me downstairs. He goes, I got to work Saturday because we're not working today and we're behind schedule.
Right?
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah, just watching that feature video on him, like you see him, messing with the safety, not the safety net, the little, what's the net made out of the orange material? Like, I don't know. He's out there laboring. Like,
Yeah.
I was just like, oh wow, he's doing all that stuff, huh? That's impressive. Senior superintendent, right?
Got to chip in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it
that-
didn't happen overnight, right, Rich?
No, absolutely not.
But you're about to reap some big rewards that I wish you the best and the best of luck.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
not hopefully. You've done
Hopefully. As long as your president doesn't screw things up.
it. Man.
Oh, we're going there.
I can't believe I have a friend that's political.
And he knows how to blame somebody for my
Right.
president.
Right. You heard that too? He's not Rich's president. No. I don't think he's anyone's president at this table.
Oh, yeah.
Ah.
That's funny.
So we have a couple of goals and philosophies at Garney that I really try to instill in the guys, and it's just so relates to everything that you guys have just talked about. And the first one that comes to my mind is my favorite philosophy, and it's integrity is the shortest path to success. And
Love
checking
that.
those tires every day has a lot to do with one's integrity, right?
Yeah.
And then one of our other ones is win-win. Why wouldn't you want? Who doesn't want to win? And if you win, the drivers win. If the drivers win, the mechanics win. If the mechanics win, the people in the office win. The safety, everybody wins. The people that get the material that you haul win.
Right.
They get it on time. They get everything. So win-win, and it all starts with doing your job.
Yeah.
Do your job. And
Preach.
it's win-win.
Preach it.
Absolutely.
Give him the
Rich.
box.
Yeah.
Soup, were you getting ready to say something?
No.
Oh, I just seen you pull the mic. So we already went over the pre-trip inspections. I do want to go over the tips and tricks because we talk more about tires. This is your tips and tricks with Ray Davis. So he opens up, proper way to bump your tires with Crocs and using Fuel Cloud.
It is good because I know you're about to read that, but his next line is awesome. So go ahead,
Do
Jeff.
you want to read it?
It just, now I got your attention, right? And Crocs and Fuel Cloud.
I mean, we just talked about the truck that was parked across the street last week,
The guy's
where the guy
kicking it.
in his vans,
In his vans,
right?
exactly.
And it wasn't a kick; it was
A tap.
I touched my tire
kissed
with my
it.
shoes,
Exactly.
right? And he was trying really hard not to get the toe of his vans dirty,
Right.
you know.
So Ray goes on and says, now that I got your attention, you should never kick your tire with Crocs, sandals, shoes, or even boots. Proper ways to bump them with your 2-pound sledgehammer that JFW provides you with, and you should be in on all your JFW trucks or a tire thumper. Tips for thumping tires. Listen closely to the sound the hammer or tire thumper makes when you hit your tires. Light taps do not work. Hit the tires firmly. Okay, I like to say you're listening for that hollow sound, not a thud. Pay attention to the sound made and compare when full and low. Practice with a fully pressurized tire and a truck tire that is low. Compare sounds and hear the difference. A fully inflated tire will cause the tire thumper to bounce back quickly towards you. When using the tool, the operator must have both feet firmly planted on a level surface at all times. If you're still not sure and you think a tire is low, check it with a tire gauge. The most common cause for tire failure on any vehicle is low tire pressure. Heat builds as the steel belt and the polyester cords rub against each other and the rubber falls apart. So there you go. That's all about your tips and tricks for tires. Then he goes into Fuel Cloud. When using Fuel Cloud, one of the biggest complaints on Fuel Cloud is that it's a pain to connect. I thought about this for a while and came up with maybe when we log on to Fuel Cloud with our phones, how many people actually disconnect from the app when they're done fueling? I am guilty of this, so my thought is, if a person does not disconnect from the app and then they're still logged on to the pump, so when the next person is trying to connect to that pump, they can't because the person that was just on the pump is still connected until they either pull away far enough or their phone disconnects or they close the app and it disconnects. I'm curious if it's different using a tablet at yard 23. If we can get some feedback, it would be great because together we face and overcome all that stands before us. Let's keep it moving and make things all better, make all things better. Be safe and much love, always. Much love, always, Ray Ray 0012.
Good job, Ray Ray.
Yeah, thanks, Ray.
Good
I
stuff.
like it.
Yeah.
Now then, do you guys have any comments on that?
I just wanted to, a couple things, Jim. Was it Jean's daughter
Yes.
that was out there thumping tires?
Yeah,
And
years
do you
ago.
guys remember, was she 11, 12?
She was
Then,
Huh?
then,
Well,
Then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that-
yeah.
I thought
yeah,
you
she's
said
got her
10.
driver's license now,
Oh,
right?
she just had a sweet 16.
Okay,
in
so, yeah.
2022.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, young enough, I mean, what does she really know about tires is
Yeah.
what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That point, that
Yeah.
deal. And was it you, Dave, that you asked when she was bumping tires, what are you listening for?
I think it was you.
And
Either way, yeah.
Either way.
Or Jam.
Jam. But
Not-
she
not
des-
it.
Yeah, she described it though, Jam, and I'm not trying
was-
to belittle anybody.
it was awesome because I said, "Oh, you're thumping tires. What are you listening for?" And she looked at Gene, and Gene just shook his head and kind of pointed at her like,
There's that teaching moment.
Yeah.
The father.
"Yeah,
Tough
like,
love.
I'm not going to give you the answer.
Tough
Tell her what-"
love.
Yeah.
And she just thought about it for a second, like nobody told her, and she said, "A hollow sound." Bam.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just trying to make a point that there's, 12, 13-year-old,
Yep.
anything,
Yeah.
recognizing that. So
Yeah.
it's not that difficult, guys. It's pretty simple. You just got to, again, back to doing your job.
Right.
Listen, pay attention. I like Ray's statement about, both feet on the ground.
Right.
I'm guilty of that. I've tried to lean over. I want to hit that back tire, so I've leaned over and smacked it with the hammer. I'm not really hitting it hard enough to possibly tell the difference in the sound. So take that part serious, and I know Rich asked, how long does that take? It's still, even if you hit it 2 or 3 times and you walk around the truck, you're at 2 minutes max. Why you're doing so many other things.
Right.
So yeah, dude, keep doing that. And then the fuel cloud, I know Ray asked about it, but if it's a little faster or there's a disconnect point at some point, we could add the tablet here at this yard, at the main yard, if that's quicker and easier for the guys. And when he did ask about disconnecting on the phone, I have noticed when I fuel here, it's like a 3-step process,
Yes.
and I'm always going, well, you say you're done, and you're like, well, doesn't that? And then, do you want to disconnect? Well, yes. Do you want to get out? Well, yes.
Then it says, "Are you sure?"
Are you sure?
Yes.
So if you're not doing all 3 steps, like Ray's asking, is it leaving you connected somehow besides timing out when you go park? So yeah, everybody try to, completely get out of the app, disconnect when you're done fueling. Let's see if it makes a difference.
I like it.
I think it should be tips and tricks brought to you by Ray Davis
Okay.
because
Yeah.
he's been pounding them in there week
Yeah.
after week lately.
Chris Beam's thrown a couple at
Yeah.
us, but yeah, I mean, we could definitely change that. I didn't put it on the outline, Super Dave, but don't sweat it. We would never leave without hearing a high road hauling.
Well, I didn't see it on the outline, so I didn't make one up today.
So you took your ball and went home. Great.
Well, I did.
Take your
I
ball or
have- no,
make
I
one.
Can't not have a high
And,
road hauling.
This one here kind of hits home for me because I was homesick last week. So this is what you want to call the health and happiness connection.
Oh,
Okay, can you have one without the other? I don't know if you can be happy if you're not healthy. I really don't. But if you want to feel better and improve your health, start by focusing on the things that bring you happiness. Scientific evidence suggests that positive emotions may help you live life longer and healthier. But fleeting positive emotions are not enough. Lowering your stress levels over a period of years with a positive outlook and relaxation techniques could reduce your risk of health problems. University of Pennsylvania psychologist Martin Seligman looked at 3 possible pathways that can lead to happiness. Feeling good, seeking pleasurable emotions and sensations, maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain. Engaging fully, pursuing activities that engage you fully, things you love to do. And doing good. We've always heard that, paying it forward gives you more rewards than you're actually, giving out, because you get such a reward out of it. But searching for meaning outside yourself and knowing your true self and acting in accordance with your own virtues. Things that won't make you happy. People tend to be poor judges of what makes them happy. Here are some widely held myths about what will bring you happiness. Money and material things. The question of whether money can buy happiness has been out there forever, but research shows that people in poorer countries are happier when their basic necessities are covered, but any money beyond that doesn't make any difference in happiness levels. Youth. Being young and physically attractive has little to do with happiness. In fact, adults grew steadily happier as they moved through middle age. Children can be a tremendous source of joy and fulfillment, but their day-to-day care is quite demanding, and you can increase stress, financial pressures, marital problems. In several studies, personal relationships declined after the first child is born and only recovers after the last child leaves the home. I got to agree with that. It's just so much easier. The kids are gone. It's just you and your wife. It's calm and quiet, and everything's good. And those grandkids that you mentioned earlier, Rich, they're at home with mom and dad. You can just
get them when you want them.
You can send them back, right?
Send them back. Yep. Happiness researcher Robert Holden conducted a survey and found that 65 out of 100 people would choose happiness over health, but the both were highly valued. Fortunately, we don't have to choose happiness because happiness and health go hand in hand, as Holden stated. There is no true health without happiness. There is also ample evidence that unhappiness, depression, anxiety, stress are also linked to poor health outcomes. These negative states, if chronic, can dampen immunity and increase inflammation in the body, leading to multitude of diseases and conditions. The principles of positive psychology can combat these negative states, further increasing the likelihood of health. And the quote this week is by Bob Barker. If you all remember him from the old Price is Right. I think he lived to be like 100 years old, right? I think that age is a number. I think that age as a number is not nearly as important as health. You can be in poor health and pretty miserable at age 40 or 50. If you're in good health, you can enjoy things into your 80s. That's so true.
Yeah.
I don't think a 22-year-old thinks about his health as much as a 62-year-old.
Oh, spot on, Dave. Yeah.
Because you feel good, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time you
living
you
large,
feel good,
rocking and rolling.
Or you haven't figured out yet that you hurt.
Yeah. I'll have to tell you guys or mention it. Super Dave, the health. Danielle was just telling me that they had a woman come in and I don't know how far along. She's only
halfway through a pregnancy.
Yeah. Let me spit that out. Anyway, she's got cancer.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
And so they did a bunch of testing and stuff like that, and they asked Danielle to go down and stay with her because she was doing that testing, monitor the baby, all the kind of stuff. And the lady's taken the choice, which is amazingly brave, that she's not going to do any treatments until after the baby's born.
Wow.
And that might be life-saving treatments, okay? And the
I just want to clarify. I mean, I don't want to screw up your story. That could save her life, but may cost her child's life. Yes. Or
yes.
No?
Well,
I mean,
they've read it.
Vice versa.
Yeah, I think vice versa too.
I
mean, it could be.
Wait a minute. The mother has cancer, not
Yes.
the baby.
Not
right?
the baby.
Yeah.
Okay, and cancer that should be treated now.
Right.
Okay, not messed around with.
And I guess what I'm asking is she choosing not to have it treated because it could harm her baby?
Could harm.
Yeah.
No.
She's sacrificing her life.
Yep.
For her baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's a decision and stuff like that. And this is her second child. And where I'm heading to this, Dave, was about the age thing. Is Danielle was like, "Oh, how old are you?" And I think she was either 22 or 24 is all.
Wow.
and she's made that choice.
Wow.
You know, and you think about that, Dave, on happiness, and what brings her happiness is having her baby. You know, and her and her husband to go through that and pick that, and Danielle just said this woman will be the death of her because she's so courageous, you know, and jokingly the death of Danielle because she goes, I'm trying not to be connected, and you can't be drawn in. You cannot help but not be drawn in by this woman's character and stuff. So didn't want to get off in it, but at any age. You know, you just
that
don't
happiness and health. That's such a great high road Holland too, Dave. Because I firmly believe, odds are, if you're happy, you're probably healthier.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You can have people
and vice
that
versa.
They just get so down on themselves, right? Like they just need to laugh. You know, and there are things
laughter.
There are things beyond your control, right? I mean, some things
true.
are inevitable, but you know, if you meet things head on and you know, usually hit it with a positive attitude, you know, and a happy one, it's a lot of times easier to swallow than the other side.
Which leads me to my final thoughts. I don't ever kick the final thoughts off, but I'm gonna today. So the other day I went to the gym and kind of had like a crappy workout. Like my stability was off, my balance was off, the weights felt heavy. You know what I mean?
I had that happen.
They call them weights for a reason, right? They're not supposed to be light, right? But you know, walking into the gym, like I felt like a stud. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a good workout. I was like, I can't wait to get in there. Then I get in there and it's like, I don't even want to be there. Like everything's just going so crappy. Like,
Did you have other stuff on your mind?
everything, Dave. I had the worst week, but we'll get to that in a minute, right? So anyway, of course, I post on social media. Otherwise, it's like I never went to the gym, right? So I post on social media like, man, you ever go to the gym and you just feel super in sync with your body and the weights are light and like everything's just great. Me too. Today wasn't that day. It sucked, you know what I mean? And so anyway, my friend Todd Zielinski responded. So let me tell you about Todd. Todd has ran 1,147 days straight.
Wow,
Hasn't skipped a day.
good for him.
He's not a runner either. If you look at him, he's a football player. Like he's this short, stocky, like lunchbox, right? 1,147 days, which is 3.14 years straight. Has not missed a day running. In the cold, in the heat. He's a hunter. He'll go run before his hunt.
Impressive.
Impressive, right? So Todd says anybody could have a good day in the gym, right? He says, but you didn't leave. You said you felt like leaving, but you didn't leave, right? Anybody could have a good day. So I say the same thing about work. Anybody could have a good day at work. Anybody could have a good marriage, right? But you said it earlier, stick it out. It'll be worth it, right? I stuck the workout out. The next day I went to the gym. The weights were light. My balance was good. Like I felt like I thought I felt the day before, right? You know, you have a bad day at work, right? You don't just go home and quit. You got to go all those loads. You know what I mean? How do you face and overcome, right? Your marriage, right? I felt so, and I'm going to get off into a little bit of a spiritual sidebar here, but you guys know I went to this marriage conference with my wife, and it was faith-based, right? Well, we feel like our marriage was attacked. As soon as we signed up for this marriage conference, little weird things started happening. We go to the conference, and we feel like spiritually our marriage was attacked after that, and we face some problems, and it's like all the things I learned in the conference I forgot about. You know what I mean? And then working through it and coming back together, we'll be stronger because of it. But we had to face and overcome things to get back in that place. But you know, when you meet people, you said it earlier, Rich. Like, you know, it's not all rainbows and unicorns all the time. You got to work through things, but you know, you got to stick that job out. You don't go to the next one because the grass is greener. You don't just get a divorce because you had a tough week of marriage. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I guess I just want to say anybody could have a good day, but what happens when you don't, and how do you face and overcome that? So that's my final thoughts for today.
Nice.
Yeah, good segment.
That kind of blends into mine to a degree, Jam. It's like, you know, you spend 35 years doing this and it feels so repetitive, and it's like, Why do I continue to try or help teach? Right? I mean, it's, how many times have we talked about tires? How many times have we talked about driving off on the shoulder? And I guess I continue to constantly help people to make better decisions, primarily at work, but sometimes this spills over to life as well. I know I have certainly had people make me better and help me make better decisions at work or in my life, and still do. I think this is a natural progression that, either your family or friends help you with, and that is, of course, if you're willing to hear things that you may not want to, or even do things you may not like. I know in business, we're always trying to teach people about our industry and how things work, or how you should do a certain thing in a certain way, right? Randy loves to say in dispatch, iron sharpens iron. This is what Jim and I try to do with each other and all of the great people that we work with on a daily basis. If we don't try and sharpen everyone by our side, they will become dull. Where or when we fail is when you usually, have someone that day they don't feel like being sharpened. And we all have that day, myself included. The good news is I've learned through personal experience that just continuing to do what I do and stay the course, as Super Dave loves to say, everything will work out. I know in my heart I have done everything I can, and I am just truly trying to help people be better. The key to making yourself better, though, is ultimately depends on you and only you. As I have mentioned, though, why do I continue to help or teach? I do this because this is something I have learned I am passionate about. And it is only people, it is only the people who are after getting sharpened that allows the process to happen. The win is when you watch a person that learns how to start sharpening themselves. They take everything they have sharpened them with, have absorbed it, and are now not only sharpening themselves, but sharpening those around them. This is truly where I couldn't be prouder. The process you have been working on with that I have been working on with that person has gone full circle, and they are now teaching what we have taught to them to the next person in line. And it's just like, you're seeing that progress. It's a generation, right? It's like the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. So that was kind of my thought for the week.
Good thoughts.
Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Yeah. I it's going to capitalize on this, hopefully, all your guys' thoughts and stuff. And Jam, you talking about going to the gym and not feeling the best, and then Dave, your comments about sharpening other people. I think if I was alive in that time, or you think of not superheroes, people you want to meet, and there's a few today I would like to meet probably today, but one of my favorite guys is Theodore Roosevelt. I hope he wrote a lot of what he said. One of my favorite speeches, you guys all know, the man in the arena, okay? And we talk about, there's this thing about the woke generation, and what they suffer and stuff like that. And Jam, you're talking about going to the gym and getting through it, right? It doesn't always have to be the best, right? Dave, you're talking about getting through. You might fail, but you're going to persevere. Hopefully you taught somebody.
Stay the course.
So this is 1912, you guys. Theodore Roosevelt is campaigning for his third election, and he gets shot at his speech. Okay, after he's shot, he gives an 84-minute speech, and he starts the speech out. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether you fully understand it, that I have just been shot, but it takes more than that to kill a bull moose, and that's always what he referred to himself for, as a bull moose. Okay, they give him credit for surviving the gunshot is because his speech was so thick, it hit his glasses case in his speech and stopped the bullet somewhat.
In his chest, yeah.
In his chest, yep. So he gives the whole speech, but along in that time, this is one of his quotes, and I think it applies to all of us sitting here at the table and hopefully everybody listening. So, far better is it to dare mighty things. So you're just going to dare mighty things, no matter what, right? To win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure. You're going to fail. You're going to fail at the gym. You're going to fail sharpening somebody's, iron. You're going to fail trying to teach somebody, right? Rich, about another piece of equipment, right? And so then to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy nor suffer much, because they live in a gray twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. And I take that as I would much rather have victories and defeats than do nothing.
Absolutely.
And so we ask every one of you every day to live at the fullest, even if you fail. That's going to be worth something someday.
Learn from your failures and ours, though.
Yeah,
That's my tip.
Yeah, yeah. And you got to get back up. Don't be this woke generation.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy got shot and gave an 84-minute speech.
Yeah.
Just because you hurt your finger, don't go home.
Wokeness breeds weakness.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So.
You got final thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, everybody hang in there. I know we're having another snow day today, but stay the course, and everything will work out.
Good job. That
You
was a
got to
good
stay
one,
the
Dave.
course.
And we had a little taste yesterday, didn't we, Dave?
Yeah.
62 degrees.
Oh, man.
Woo, made you itchy.
It's coming.
I bet that was the warmest day so far this year.
We are on the cusp of, we're working too much.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, I had some good conversations with some drivers yesterday. They get it.
Yeah.
You know, Tanny was one of them. Coleman was one of them. They could feel like we're right there. So,
Yeah.
Rich, you have any final thoughts you want to leave the JFW family with?
Nope.
No? Well, you've been an awesome guest, much better than you said you would be. You're actually even a little funnier than you said you would be. So we appreciate you coming on today, and we're going to finish up with the JFW Creed and get on out of here.
Nice.
Yep. Together we face and overcome
all that stands before us. Together we are accident-free. Together we joyfully create honest value for those we serve. Together we celebrate our differences and respect those with whom we work. Together we are accountable for our words and our actions. And together we are the JFW family.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Thanks, Rich.
Yep.
Thanks for coming, Rich.
My pleasure.